Ain't accepting, ignore, just kicking down all the doors. Again, as soon as he out and finish this bid, we finna do it bigger than anybody ever did. The odds is real big, jobs that's real big. Satan trying a little, my God is real big. Stayed up on the ground and the cards is real big. I gotta do it big, the only way that I can live.
Live from virtual Salinas, California, we welcome race fans, one and all, as we get set to go racing for yet more racing action here in the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. Hello, one and all, and welcome to RaceSpot TV. My name is LMP2. I'll be bringing you all of the coverage from start to finish tonight from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna, Seca, as we get set to end off the first half of the season here in the 2022 spring season for the HyperX GT Sprint Series. It's been a very, very exciting opening couple of rounds in this winter season, and it is going to be an exciting Final Four as well. This race will cap off the first half of the season, and of course we slow it down and go for a little bit of road course racing at Long Beach over on April the 3rd. The Charlotte Road Course and Mount Panorama at Bathurst are going to be rounding out the season, so you've got three absolutely phenomenal circuits, each one of them just absolutely steeped in their own little histories. Take a look at some of the standings, and for the pro standings, it is still T3 Motorsports by Maniti dominating the season. They have had a flawless opening two races, winning all 4 one-hour events back-to-back to put themselves a 98-point gap on 5-Star Motorsports, with Pure Sips lagging behind in third, but over 100 points out. So somebody is going to have to see if they can potentially end the Maniti domination here today. They also lead the Pro-Am standings in the 273 with 312 points, but it is not nearly as close. 281 points for Volaris Esports is going to make it so that championship will continue to get a little bit more ramped up as the season goes along. Looking over at the AM standings next up, and you can see it is even closer. Oblivion Racing just about 14 points clear of World of Sim Racing, and just another 5 points back is V Racers. So it is, of course, very, very tight still in the AM standings, especially when you consider that you can have yourself all of these positions with over 100 points up for grabs in just one race. Want to remind drivers as well, or people as well, that there is, of course, a giveaway here tonight, and the giveaway prize for tonight's race will be a Cloud 2 wireless gaming headset. And of course, don't forget, there's the Easter Egg Challenge prize pack for the season as well, where you can win yourself a Cloud Alpha Blackout gaming headset, an Alloy Elite 2 mechanical gaming mouse keyboard, a Pulsefire Haste gaming mouse, and a Pulsefire Matte RGB gaming mouse pad. You can visit the video, visit the links at the video description and get a chance to win yourself all of those items here today. You can pool all those items to get a chance as well for the season-wide competition. So we're going to show you that Easter egg now. Of course, if you think you know what that is, you can go ahead and visit the links at the bottom. You'll enter yourself with a chance to win that giveaway for a Cloud 2 wireless gaming headset. So we roll over into qualifying. Of course, you got yourself 2 separate qualifying sessions. Q1 will, of course, be amongst every driver, save for the top 5 in practice. And those top 5 drivers from practice were XPD Emerald Racing, Ingersoll Rand and Melsis Pro 1, the TR powered by Geeks Energy Machine, the Westwood Racing Esports crew, and the Volaris Esports Apollo crew. So 2 Pro-Am cars going to get set to sort themselves out, and they'll have to wait all the way until Q2 before they can put down a time for tonight's race. You ride on board with Kazar Sim Racing and Aaron Ackles. Now this is a big name, this 325 car right here. They were having such a good performance over at Okayama just a few weeks ago. And they found themselves being disqualified from that race after they entered just a couple of seconds too late on the pit window. Of course, you're only allowed to pit between 25 and 35 minutes in these races. They pitted just a little bit after the 35-minute mark. As such, they found themselves disqualified from race 1, and they lost out on a massive handful of points. And now you can ride on board with Tristan Iglesias in the 101, the machine that has just absolutely dominated the Winter Series season so far. And Iglesias in the 101 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo getting set to put down one of the first benchmark times. First lap did not count. As one by one times start to cross over towards the line, we'll see what can Iglesias do as he gets set to put down a time. Will this be one towards the top end of the boards? It's a 1:19.252, the benchmark time drivers will have to beat tonight. And the next closest driver, 0.6 of a second off, and that is the RSR by Butt Kicker Machine down in second place. You see drivers already starting to log in times. How about Pure Sims sitting third in points, logging down a 1:19.657. But that is, of course, still a solid 0.4 off of the Medici Racing crew. So some work to do then for the 116. Tristan Iglesias really not pulling any punches in this qualifying session. He is coming out swinging in this one, trying to see if he can put himself on provisional pole and end that battle for pole position before it even gets started. Riding on board once again with Reese Carl as he gets set to try to see if he can't get a better time in, but he might be hindered by traffic in front of him. That's Ross McFarlane in the Pure Sims McLaren. So Pure Sims teammates looking to maybe scrap it out on track as well as that right ahead of them. How about the Rusty Spatulas Pro-Am Porsche 911 looking set to, is going to clog up the track and going to bail out to pit road will be Tuomo Sapala. So Rusty Spatulas bailing out of their third flying lap. McFarlane will come across the line in 5th place. That McLaren has been really strong and looking set to have another solid outing at the WeatherTech Raceway. How about Garrett Thompson, one of these drivers that I don't think has been able to log a time yet in his machine, running in the Kazar Sim Racing Hydra Lamborghini, and in fact they have not been able to put down a lap time yet, and they're not going to start now. Into pit road is Garrett Thompson. Wonder if he was maybe not content with being caught up in so much lap traffic. How about Francisco Barrionuevo also in to the pit lane for Ingersoll. You can see some damage actually on the right front of that machine. So having a bit of contact and potentially having a big off as well on his latest lap, which obviously is not going to help matters, especially if it was where I thought it might have been. Escriba Reloi also needing to have themselves a good time tonight and still has to try to sort himself out. And this could be a bit more of a tougher run for the World of Sim Racing machine. They're, of course, one of those AM teams trying to put themselves as far up the order as possible, because while they might not be battling the Pro and Pro-Am drivers for points positions of their own right, they are wanting to make sure they put as many cars between themselves and second place as possible. And that BMW M4 has had some very solid performances over the course of the season, so we will see if Reloi can put that World of Sim Racing BMW up on pole position. Talk about some of the outliers when it comes to car manufacturers. Obviously, Lamborghinis and Porsches seem to be kind of the big ones to go for at the moment, but you do have a single McLaren in the field, a single Ferrari. You got yourself a few spaced out Mercedes as well throughout the order. Here's one of them now. Niels Tiesters for Vector by RSR coming across start-finish line now. And not going to log a time down just yet. So the 171, I think not having as good of a run as he might like. Of course, sitting 17th place at the moment, which is not where you want to be if you're a pro driver. Michael Sola, Pro-Am driver for Cube Racing, going to see what the 290 will be able to do. Has yet to log down in time. This is the only Ferrari in the field. And not going to get a time in as well. It is so difficult to get a good time down in these GT3 cars around the WeatherTech Raceway. You can tell it really was not a track designed with GT3 racing in particular in mind. But these drivers certainly making good use of it. Good number of guys already on outlaps once again. Here is Garrett Thompson. Once again, another driver that has not been able to log down in time in qualifying so far for the Kazar Sim Racing machine. He's going to be looking to potentially change that all around. The 225 sitting 7th place at the moment in the point standings. So quite a ways down than where he'd like to be. They find themselves 96 points out from the points leader, so still within range. But they got a lot of work ahead of them if they want to find themselves at the top of the timing boards. Good news for them. So it's still a long season left, with lots of racing still left to go. Thompson not about to head in the pit road. Unlike some other drivers, he does have Nuno Costa for V-Racers in the 333 BMW M4 AM machine just up the road. But it's not going to impact his lap this time round. And puts down a 121.013. That's good enough for 18th place overall on the grid. That'll see him starting 4th place so far in the Pro-Am category as well. Up at the top of the timing boards, no one has been able to best G3 Motorsport by Maniti's 119.087 yet. RSR by Butt Kicker has gotten a bit closer, a quarter of a second. You see Sean Campbell looking to do some good work in that Mercedes AMG. He's trying to put that car up on provisional pole. Really leaning on those sausage curves all the way through turn 6. It's such a risky task. Oh, he's going to get cut off here by the Kazar Sim Racing machine of Aaron Ackles, and the 325 going to loop it around. And that is not good news at all, and I'm almost certain this is going to be a lap aborted then for Sean Campbell. Just had his lap ruined by the number 325, currently provisional pole sitter for the AM class, and sure enough, Sean Campbell entering pit road. I am not surprised at all in that. You can't protest being held up in qualifying to the race stewards. I'm curious to see if we'll be seeing any investigations being had for that situation. But I think that is just a product of the WeatherTech Raceway. It is not the widest track in the world. It's not very friendly when it comes to lap traffic. So look up to the 353 machine for TR powered by Geeks Energy, IVRA in their Audi R8 LMS. Just exiting through the corkscrew and looking to fire down. Sorry, this is the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. They do sound quite similar. Michael Teichmann out of the final corner. Turn 11. Across the line, 121 to 036. That'll see him move up one spot to 19th place, bumping down the vector by RSR 171. I tell you what, that 171 machine has got to get a move on. I mean, 20th place, and you're in a pro car, not at all where you want to be. So we will see what the vector by RSR machine can do. There he is, Niels Tiesters, trying to throw that vector Mercedes around these last couple of corners now. Right ahead of him is Tristan Iglesias, provisional pole sitter on an outlap. Of course, this will not be a long lap for Tiesters. This is an outlap for the 171. Firing down into turn 2 at the Andretti hairpin. You see him bobble slightly on corner entry. Arcs it in nice with the double apex before crossing back out and switch it over to the left side of the track for turn 3. Trying to follow in the draft of Iglesias, who you saw kind of skirt into the gravel slightly on the exit of turn 3. And we need to get a move out of the way and allow Vector to go through unimpeded. In front of them, you got the Rusty Spatula's 213 Porsche 911 GT3. So Sepala could potentially find themselves now in the way of a charging Tiesters, but I think they're far enough up ahead that Vector by RSR will not have to worry about being impeded by the Rusty Spatula's crew. Oh, big tank slapper, though, coming down over the crest and into the corkscrew. And I have to wonder, is that going to be enough to invalidate the lap altogether? He did clip the gravel quite significantly. Looks like it did do a little bit of damage on the number 20, or on the 171 as well, as he has taken that car into pit road. It's not going very well for the Vector by RSR crew. That damage they picked up from bouncing up and over the sausage curves in the second to last corner. Now here's a team we haven't talked about so far throughout the course of the season. Jason Tails, Sim Racing, in a Porsche 911 GT3, firing up and over the line. Driven by Kyle Domark in the 345. They're, of course, an AM team. And if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be their first start this season. So Jason Tails Racing and Kyle Domark's crew, a little bit late to the party. But hey, better late than never. Domark will be teaming up with Jason Taylor out of the northwest of the US of A. And that pairing will see what they can do, see if they can potentially shake up the running order for the overall AM standings. They currently sit 23rd place, 2.3 seconds down for the overall race leader, about 3/10 off of Team Oblivion, the next driver up in their class, which is up in 21st place. Just behind them, you've got Casper Amott in the Oblivion Racing 346 Lamborghini. That is a team that has seen happier days. It has not been a solid run for Oblivion really all throughout this season. It's a lot of stories about teams looking to try and improve. Oblivion definitely high up on the list of those drivers. Jason Tails going to log in a 1:20.642. That will put him third place in the AM standings and 16th overall. So a brilliant time there from Jason Tails and Casper Amott. Not going to log time on his last time across the line. But how about that for Kyle Domark in the 345? Under 1 minute left in qualifying. When we hit 20 minutes to go overall in the session, Q1 will conclude and we'll get set to go and log in Q2 on the boards. Continuing to ride on board with the 346 Lamborghini. And Mott is currently sitting 22nd place. 2 seconds off of the race leaders, trying to see what they can do, but he's going to spin it around in the corkscrew. And that is one of the most common mistakes you can make at a racetrack like this. Just took too much out of the exit there and clipped the gravel right when the car compresses back in, and it just hooked it right around in the gravel. Cannot tell you the number of times that I've made that mistake, and that is a mistake that is not exclusive to the GT3 cars. Doesn't matter what cars you race here. Indy cars. It could be production cars. Skip Barbers. As Tiestas goes off course and he'll immediately bail to pit road. That is a common mistake at this racetrack, and it will be something that a lot of these drivers will be having to look out for as we continue to go deeper into tonight's race. Checker flag is out on Q number 1. Green Jean-Charles for Cube Racing trying to put the 290 a little bit further up the grid. They currently sit second to last in the log times. Oh, but he's going to get loose out of the final corner, and I don't think he's going to be able to make anything work in that Ferrari anymore. Crosses the line on 1:21.019. Does improve to 21st, but it's too little, too late. Checking in on some of these drivers further in the back, you got Ross McFarlane trying to put down one extra time. A 351 World of Sim Racing Machine driven by Ruben Escriba Rally. You ride on board with him now. Trying to see what he can do. McFarlane bails to pit road. Can the BMW M4 GT3 get any further up the grid? Crosses the line. 1:20.925. Improves on his time. Not on his positioning, though. And he will continue to sit down in 20th place. That is a wrap then on Q1. 6 drivers did not set times. And of those drivers, we are already expecting 5 of them to be making efforts here in Q2. Those drivers being the 190 of XBD Emerald Racing, the 134 of Ingersoll Rand Enosis. The 153 TR powered by Geeks Energy. The 287 Westwood Racing Esports in their Audi, which have been having a solid run so far in Pro-Am. And the Valorous Motorsports Apollo 236 machine. They'll be going out to hit the track in Q2, and they will also be joining the top 10 throughout Q number 1. So the drivers advanced on are going to be, of course, T3 Motorsport by Maniti, currently with your provisional pole time. Set the benchmark, and that is a time that has not yet been beaten. The 169 RSR by Butt Kicker in the Mercedes is going to be in Q2, so will the 117 of Pearson's Esports for the McLaren. The 116 machine also in pit road for the Lamborghini. 5-Star Motorsports, current points runner-ups in the pro standings. Also going to be making their way into Q2, so the RSR by Butt Kicker EU machine. 5-Star Motorsports 155 will be moving on, so will the T3 Motorsport by Maniti Lamborghini in the 173. As will Project Dynamic in the 217 Audi. And the last T3 Motorsport by Maniti 273. So 3 T3 and Maniti racing cars going to be up there now in Q2. That's exactly where you want to be. Every one of the drivers they've got in competition today. Once again, Maniti have been the drivers to beat. And we now just wait to for the green flag to wave on Q2, which will be coming up here in about 60 seconds time. Drivers have been given the go-ahead by race control that they are allowed to line up at pit exit. So races who can get to the end of pit road first. And it looks like it'll be Maniti to be the first ones to exit pit road. It'll be the 173 current city 8th place. Joshka Meyer in the 173 Lamborghini going to be looking to hit the track first. We've already got a big cluster of drivers sitting 3 abreast waiting at pit exit, and it's always a bit of an amusing sight to see for me. These drivers just wanted to scramble out. Almost looks like a big crowd of people trying to get through some packed stadium doors when the lights go out. "10 seconds until the green flag on Q2 flies." Now, unlike in Q1, drivers will not be able to finish their laps in Q2, so they're going to have to get all their laps in before the clock expires. We have seen this time and time again, good laps being cut off by that clock. Green flag's out in Q2, and these 15 cars will hit the track for the last 15 minutes before we go green flag racing for the first of 2 races at the WeatherTech Raceway. Obviously, these qualifying results are going to be set in the grid for race 1, a 1-hour timed race on the night. Drivers will be having to make a mandatory pit stop and a mandatory driver change between 25 and 35 minutes into the race. For there, you'll have a brief 15-minute warm-up followed by a secondary 1-hour timed race. Same rules apply as the first, save for the fact that there will be a top 20 reverse grid. So race 1 will set the grid for race 2 with the top 20 being inverted. So that should be a bit of an interesting scenario at a track like this, where it is, shall we say, not necessarily the easiest of times trying to get yourself sorted up there in this field. But I'm confident that these drivers will be able to manage it. It's usually pretty chaotic for the opening lap or so. Then it gets itself all sorted out deeper into the race. Meyer hits the start line first and is ready to hit the ground running as we get Q2 officially underway with the first hot laps. Just behind them, though, he's got Emil Wimbo in the Valorous Motorsports Apollo machine. Now, the 236 was 5th fastest in practice, but the time they only put down was 1:20.223. I'm not sure that's going to be quick enough to go for a pole time unless Wimbo really has something special in that Lamborghini that they have yet to reveal. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen teams pull out these one-lap flyers in a qualifying session in this series. And it's not helping as well that Joshua Meyer is giving him a massive tow up the Rahal straight and into the corkscrew. I think it's a bit too close to be able to make this lap count. Have to break a little bit earlier, and that is not going to help matters into turn 11. And across the line, Joshua Meyer will not improve, and he's going to be bested here by Valorous Motorsports. One by one, drivers start to log their laps away. Ingersoll goes 15th fastest. Arsar by butt kicker improves on the time, putting themselves a couple hundredths closer to the 101 Munich racing car up on pole position. 5-Star Motorsports 155 improves by 3 spots, goes 6th fastest with 119.676. So the Beamer is looking to fight back. There is Rune Jensen for the 5-Star Motorsports 155, putting that car 6th fastest on the board for the moment. The only two drivers left now to set times is going to be the Simtech Motorsports 107 and the XPD Emerald Racing 190. But with the 107 being out of the top 5 in qualifying, we will not be seeing Simtech set in the lap. In qualifying, they're going to be started all the way at the back of the grid. On board with Tim Spessa for Westwood Esports. Currently sitting 5th place in the point standings for the Pro-Am Championship. About 50 points or so, give or take a couple. Off points leaders, Maniti in the 273 Lamborghini. We've also got Dawson Hess, Project Dynamic, making big strides today. They're 1 second off of the overall pole time. Sitting 11th place at the moment. Oh, big crash right in front of them. And who was that went slamming into the wall? That was Spence of the Westwood Racing Esports 287 Audi. And Hess going to go off again in the other Audi on the track. So Project Dynamic and Westwood Racing not having good times. And I wonder Dawson Hess was a bit flustered by the wreck that he just avoided and binned it hard into the barrier himself. There's the Ingersoll Red Enosis, headed up by Javier Garcia Rodriguez in the 134. The Ingersoll Audi through the final corner now, firing back down the longest straight, the front straightaway. Doesn't get a lap logged. I believe that might have been an out lap for them. And 10 minutes left on the clock here in qualifying. Once again, drivers will not get the opportunity to finish their laps in Q2 as they did in Q1. So if you want to go for that pole time, you have got to make your efforts work when they can. And I'd want to have yourself on track in the final, by the time the 5-minute mark hits. Just in case you butcher one lap, you'll have a second chance to have a second go at it. XPD Emerald Racing, the 190, coming across the line now. The one driver yet to set a time on the day in the 190 Lamborghini. Hugo Gonzalez Aranda going to put that car 11th fastest. How about that? The 190 Pro Machine almost breaking into the top 10. And some strong pace, though, for a first lap log from Aranda. And a very green Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Drivers on their outlaps currently include the 101 provisional pole sitter T3 Motorsports. Pure Sims on an outlap, so is the secondary Beniti car, the 173. Westwood also on an outlap, as is Project Dynamic. Ingersoll just improved on their lap time, put down a 1 minute 20. 11th fastest really does seem to be at the time a lot of drivers want. There you can see Joshua Meyer in the 173 Lambo, currently on the outlap and looking to start what'll be yet another flying lap. Final board with Joshua Meyer for this one lap here, and we'll see what he can do to put that car further up inside the top 10. Well, it was looking to be a good lap, but pushed a bit too wide through the final corner. It will be a 120, but it will not be a time improved. Valorous Motorsports Apollo, though, has improved. They've gone 6th fastest on the boards in the 236 machine. Whoa, and they're immediately going to spin it out in turn number 3. How about that? Talk about Formula drifting a GT3 car around turn number 3. That was legendary stuff, and that gets a solid 8 out of 10 on form for me. Kept 3 of the 4 wheels on the racetrack. Great save from Elmo Wimbo. Javier Garcia Rodriguez for Ingelso Randanosis, trying to put that car a little bit closer towards the top step here of the practice boards. He was the runner-up in practice, so I'm a bit surprised that he has struggled so much in qualifying. You have to wonder, was it just one good lap? Bring the 134 across the line. No time logged, I believe. Possible outlap. Starting that flying line now, though, but he's got a lot of traffic right in front of him, including Rune Janssens with the 5-star motorsports machine, currently 7th on the boards. And Max Palm driving the TR powered by Geeks Energy Lamborghini. A lot of Lambos out in the field today, and that is, of course, no surprise considering all the BOP adjustments that have been made so far to the series. Making the Lamborghini the car to have, it would seem, if you want to have a good shot on taking on Beniti. Although I say that, tell that to, oh wow, Ingersoll a bit wide through 6. I was saying, tell that to ours start by butt kicker, the 169, though that Mercedes has just been charging after them week after week, race after race. Never wanted to let them breathe. But it hasn't stopped Beniti from just running away with the points lead, of which they now have a 92-point gap to the good entering tonight's race. So Beniti's got a solid buffer they can work with. They're at the point now where they can afford to lose a race or two, and it's almost going to be nothing to them. We'll see what Sean Campbell can do as he gets set to potentially come into the last couple of corners and bailing out the pit road. So yet again, not going to be improving on his overall lap times. Tristan Iglesias hasn't improved a whole lot on his lap times overall, but nobody's been able to even come close to challenging that top spot. Shout out to Mr. Kim Jong Understeer in the YouTube chat. It's the T3 and followers category. I have to say, I can't disagree with you. It really has been, try to run down T3 Motorsports, and so far, Beniti has just been unstoppable. They are certainly favorites, I would imagine, coming into the championship by now. The question I really have at the moment, can they continue that winning form and win half the races in the season back to back to back to back to back to back? That would be unheard of. Though that being said, we did see Project Dynamic in the fall season do just that in the Pro-Am Championship. You see Sean Campbell once again trying to log down a second lap. He is on an out lap at the moment, so this lap will not be counting. And Iglesias just firing out of the final corner. We'll see what Beniti can do. Can they improve on the time? They do not. 5 seconds off of the 119 that put them on pole position. It's a very stark contrast between these two GT3 cars. You've got the high-pitched whine of the Lamborghini and then the throaty growl of the Mercedes. That's one thing I love about GT3 racing. The cars all sound so different from each other, unless we're talking about the Audi and the Lamborghini, in which case they sound exactly the same. But it adds that extra dynamic onto the racetrack. It adds character. It adds atmosphere. It's just incredible to listen to. And every time we go into races like this, I have to ask myself the same question: which car sounds the best? And I'm actually going to ask that to our guys over in the YouTube chat right now. What GT3 car do you personally think sounds the best? I'll check back on that in a couple of minutes. For now, though, it's 1 minute left in qualifying. So this will be Campbell's final attempt on putting down a good lap. So we'll not have time to get another lap in on top of this, with us going straight into gridding at the end of this final 45 seconds here. Beniti does not improve on the pole time. Sean Campbell coming through the final corner. And will this be an improvement across the line? It is 119.362. Not an improvement, actually. Clock was a bit lower than I thought it might have been. Not going to improve. Butt kicker going to have to be more content with sitting in second place for the time being. 10 seconds left to go on the grid. Nobody able to improve on their times. And now in these final seconds, the checkered flag will fly on Q2. And qualifying as a whole. So with that, it is time to go through your official starting grid for race number 1 in round 3 here tonight. Tristan Iglesias on pole position with Sean Campbell down in second place, 2/10 off of the pole time. Nobody was able to come close to matching Beniti, who put down that time in the first 5 minutes of Q1. Ross McFarlane from Pure Sims Esports starts third on the grid, with Reese Carl in the Pure Sims Lambo going to be beside him on row number 2. Adam Isaacson for 5-star going to be in 5th place, with Emma Wimbo putting the Pro-Am 236 in 6th place on the grid. Rune Janssens, 7th place for 5-star Motorsports, is in 7th place with RSR by Butt Kicker in 8th. You got Max Palm for TR Powered by Geeks Energy in 9th. Hugo Gonzalez Aranda for XPD Emerald Racing in 10th. Rodriguez for Ingersoll in 11th place, with Meyer in 12th for the secondary T3 Pro car. And it's the third T3 car. The Pro-Am driver going to be in 13th place. Dawson Hess is 14th. Francisco Berriovino in Ingersoll going to be in 15th place, with Luke Burtonshaw in 16th place. You've got, of course, Tim Spesser for Westwood in 17th, with Matt Loveridge in 18th. 19th place for Aaron Eccles. Garrett Thompson is 20th place. Michael Teichman 21st. Jason Tales is 22nd. Eclipse is 23rd, with V-Race is 24th. And World of Sim Racing 25th. Cube Racing 26th. Vector by RSR 27th. Oblivion 28th. Rusty Spatula is 29th. And SimTech Motorsports rounding out the 30-car grid for the WeatherTech Raceway. So that is a rundown of your 30-car starting grid here for what should be an absolutely amazing run. And the pace car starts to lead this field out for the one and only formation lap where we get things going for the race here tonight. So now it's going to be a big question of who's going to be able to go out there and take home what could be an interesting first race win. And of course, you win this race, it means you start 20th place in the secondary race just in just about 1 hour's time, which is not going to be necessarily good news at a track that can be so difficult to overtake. See the field starting to set themselves up to go through turn 6 at the kink, and then of course you go down into the corkscrew out of the Rahal straight, and that is going to be, I think, where a lot could be lost or gained. So down through the corkscrew as Tristan Iglesias gets set to try to set this field up and go green flag racing through the final couple of corners. Want to once again thank all viewers for joining us on yet another beautiful Sunday, and it is a beautiful day for racing. Pace car is off, and now we simply have to wait for the starting for the green flag as we get set to go racing for 1 hour in the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. Green flag waves, and we are underway for the WeatherTech race around Laguna. Seca already close, fanning now 2-3 wide as they fire up and over the hill and down towards the outside hairpin. Couple of domes go flying to the background. Iglesias clear into turn number 1. All still clean, no drivers spinning around just yet. 3 abreast though through the apex. And Olympus, the Lamborghini, going around in the background, but we stay with this top grouping here. Single car spin, no need to worry for the drivers further down the order. And Iglesias already clear by 3/10, and that gap only looking to grow as the field compresses down for turn number 5. Sean Campbell trying to run him down. You see turn 6 now, through the kink, a bank kink, but you have to watch for that sausage cover the inside line. Oh, big trouble in the background. Couple of cars going around. I think that was the Vector by RSR. Luke Burtonshaw in the Mercedes going around. I know it was at least one Merc that went around, and I think it was. And the Cube Racing Ferrari going in there as well. The Project Dynamic Audi is involved, and it was actually the T3 Lamborghini that got involved. A big wreck through turn 6. Taking a look at the race car replay. Whoa! And there's a huge crash in the background there as well. So it's just complete chaos in the field at the moment. We're going to take a look at this right first, and we'll see if we can potentially get a replay of what happened. Further up the order was the 173 Joshua Meyer that got sent around by the Project Dynamic Audi. And that was the V-Races BMW that was right in the thick of all of this mess. We're going to get a secondary look at this one here. It was a contact with the Porsche that sent them around. Now this all started up the road, and I believe that's the Pro-Am Munich-based Lamborghini that kicked this all off, but just clogged the racetrack. Man, oh man, you hate to see that. Let's take a secondary look at this one. It was a bit further behind. Don't think we're going to be able to quite get a look on exactly what caused that. Might have been the Pro-Am Munich Lamborghini. But man, a couple of very violent wrecks to kick things off. And there you saw what led to the secondary hit. Project Dynamic trying to go side by side to the turn 6 kink. Iglesias leads the opening lap, though, already about a second clear. And there you see Ross McFarlane in the Pure Sims McLaren trying to make a run. Eric Grove, in the 117. Down the inside at turn 1 of the 5-star Lambo. You see our by butt kicker dropping down the timing order quite rapidly, but McFarlane pulling ahead, trying to at least hangs the outside of turn number 3, gets squeezed to the gravel, but he's not done fighting yet, and now 5-star yields and lets the Pure Sims McLaren in front. Reese Carl in the Lamborghini trying to make a run at it as well. What an insane opening couple of starting laps here for round 3 of the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. Could we see a move up into the corkscrew? It'll be a bit risky this early on. 5-stars closing in, but it's not going to be a move, and I think that's quite wise. It's not necessarily a good overtaking opportunity, despite being the second hardest braking zone on the racetrack. Just the pure nature of the corner makes it hard enough to get through there going single file when you're condensed in a big pack like this, let alone side by side. But turn 1, be surprised if we didn't see a move being made here by the secondary Pure Sims Lamborghini. And no move being made so far by Reese Carl on Adam Isaacson. You ride on board with Carl now, or Kirill. And Isaacson doing a good job to weather the storm in that third and final podium position. And now going to be side by side up towards turn number 6, but once again having to yield. It's going to be the likes of Reese Carl. It's not a fun time trying to get yourself sorted when battles are this thick on the racetrack. We're down to just 30 cars on the racetrack, and one of those is a lap down. 2 of those are laps down, excuse me. Aboard Sean Campbell, this is going to be the battle for 7th place, heading on down into turn number 2. You can see Hugo Gonzalez Aranda really having to work hard to keep Sean Campbell at bay. Now, Campbell, of course, started up in 2nd place, so something has clearly gone wrong on the race start for Campbell to see him drop so far down the order. But still hanging on to a pretty solid 8th place at the moment. Going to take a look at the replay. I think this is what's going to have happened to Sean Campbell. And oh, hello, looks like it might have been technical problems for Campbell. Cuts back in, and just like that, you find himself a little bit further behind. So that's unfortunate for Campbell. It seems like it was technical difficulties that might have just done him in. But hey, hanging on to a 7th place, all things regardless, is not bad at all. R7 Bucket, the 167, tumbling down the orders. So is Valorous Motorsports. So the 236 and the 167 getting together. Oh, and it's a big crash at the top of the corkscrew. Just complete pandemonium, it would seem, in the opening race. What on earth has gone wrong here? There's the Valorous coming back on and having another off at turn 6, it would seem. Oh, and then just, it was an attempted overtake by the 167, squeezed in Valorous. I have to say, I don't think that was Wimbo's fault. There was nothing Wimbo could do there. Just got completely pinched in, and contact sends them both flying off into the runoff area at the top of turn 8. There's the contact, send them both careening into the wall and into the sand trap. That is once again something I'm absolutely certain that the stewards are going to look at. That is not pleasant, going for an overtake that aggressively at the top of the corkscrew, even if the car you're trying to attack is a bit slower. We're looking at the Pro-Am leader, Tim Spesser, for Westwood Esports at the moment. And so far, Westwood's got nothing to worry about there. Next closest competition, 6 seconds back in the form of Kazar Sim Racing Hydra. That is in 14th place overall. Westwood's in 11th. So we've got one Pro car and an AM car in between the two of them. And there's Tim Ryder, TR powered by Geeks Energy. Of course, the 153 trying to keep Luke Burtonshaw in the 172 behind them. And once again, we have to reiterate the difficult challenge that Laguna Seca presents for GT3 racing when it comes to overtakes, because when it comes to making an overtake in these cars, the one thing that these cars love, long straights, hard braking zones, something that isn't too commonplace at Laguna Seca. You're more stringing together a whole bunch of beat corners. We're more just kind of tap the brakes and then coast. The only really hard braking zones are into the corkscrew and into turn 1. Making it a very unique challenge on the IVRA schedule. One that I'm sure these drivers will be more than happy to attempt to tackle. It's bound for 14th place overall, Garrett Thompson. For Kazar Sim Racing Hydra, trying to keep the Simtech Motorsport 107 behind now. Of course, Simtech, the car driven by Matej Surhanak, did not manage to log a qualifying lap. So the fact that they already find themselves in 15th place is remarkable, just 10 minutes into a 60-minute race. And Ronald Moore not close enough for the look. That is the other thing. The one straight that might be long for the draft isn't long enough. So you really have to rely instead on getting a better run in these corners like that. As Garrett Thompson runs off course, that allows Zerhanok to attack outside line into turn 3, but that's not really going to work out for you unless you're already fully alongside. You can see the blinking headlights from the 107. It is worth noting that is a Pro-Am car that is just ahead of them, and a damaged Pro-Am Lamborghini at that. So that is no doubt not making Simtech any happier at the moment. Oh, and now Simtech themselves off at 6. And that will only cause them to lose a spot to Niels Diester for Vectors by RSR, and almost lost a spot to Teichmann as well. One of the AM class drivers for TR powered by Geeks Energy, the 353. Good number of battles already are spaced out to over a second. This is in the moment one of the closest battles got on the racetrack. Vectors too deep into turn 11. That allows for Simtech to go on the offensive. And Sherhanok already looking to attack. Yester's in the run down to turn number 1. Will there be a move with the Andretti hairpin alongside? And Sherhanok tries to brake later. And Yester's can't do anything to the Andretti hairpin. Oh, he's going to get clipped by the AM Lamborghini. And Teichmann sends Vector by RSR around. The Lamborghini tried to follow the Audi through and just went all sorts of wrong. And that will take us all the way up to the fight for 11th place between Tim Spessa for Westwood and Francisco Breyo Nuevo for Ingros Lorentinosis Pro 2. Pair of Audis looking to do battle it out with each other. It's Pro versus Pro-Am. Once again, that is really kind of the sight we're growing a bit more used to seeing in this race, it would seem. That could be why we're not seeing a whole lot of drivers being all too aggressive in the opening couple of laps here either. About 0.4 of a second between the pair of them as they settle their way down into the Andretti hairpin. And how about Tristan Iglesias? The Munich 101 already 3.7 seconds clear of second place with the Pure Sims duo. Once again, it seems like that 101 machine is going to just dominate this series. And could it be 5 in a row and half the races won in consecutive fashion? At this point, Iglesias will be set to try to just lift off a little bit, do a touch of coasting until he goes in for his pit stop and allows Andreas Thiel to hop into the car. Gap can extend out to about 4 seconds now. Let's go back to the pair of Audis battling that out with each other. To the final corner, and that is Westwood versus Ingersoll. Barrio Nuevo versus Spesser. Ingersoll a bit closer this time by the run down to the Andretti hairpin, but it's not close enough. Once again, with how finicky these cars can be, you really have to almost be alongside by the time you hit the corners, or you're just not going to be able to make anything work. Oh, and Barrio Nuevo going to go around at turn 3, comes back on right in front of Aaron Ackles, who has to scramble. And that is a class mistake of just clipping the gravel on the way in. On board Gilles Tiesters, the Factory by RSR machine was sent around by Michael Teichmann, the 353 Lamborghini, and he has been stuck behind Tuomo Zabala for Rusty Spatulas in the 213 Porsche 911 ever since. The overall battle for 17th place, and Chess is not fighting anybody in this grouping for points pay positions, just overall positions. But I imagine still wants to work his way a bit further up the order to try to see if he can't get himself positioned up at the head of this thing. I think the big thing that I'm currently curious about when it comes to Tiesters is if he gets clear of this Porsche, would he have the overall pace to run down 16th place, the driver that put him in this position in the first place? Deep on the brakes for Tiesters in the 171. Closing up though on the Porsche. Could get a bit more feisty here if they just get within range and they can actually try to start attacking each other. It's also having to worry about the 273 Lamborghini, and that Maniti Lambo right behind him has seen better days, of course, with the 273. It kind of kicked off that initial massive pileup between turns 4 and 5. While all this is going on, there's also the battle for 5th place starting to pick up as well. 5-star Motorsports Rune Jensen's trying to defend against XPDMO Racing. Around down the inside of Jensen. Jensen runs it deep into the Andretti hairpin. And 5-star Motorsports going to hang on to the exit of turn number 2. Hugo Gonzalez Aranda wants to fight back, but he can't do anything into turn 3. That almost opened up the door for Sean Campbell to work his way through. But there was certainly an effort made, and 5-star Motorsports is starting to realize they're not so safe. All the while, you've got Javier Garcia Rodriguez for Ingersoll trying to close up as well. Look at the defensive game from Miranda on Sean Campbell, not wanting to give the RSR Mercedes any space to work with through the turn 6 kink. And slamming down on the binders all the way through the corkscrew and back down the hill through turn 9. Campbell's got the run out of 9. He'll be on the outside for 10. Goes for the switchback in the run to 11. Aranda holds firm. He'll go defensive. bit of a bumper, giving that time by to the IVRA Racing 190 Lamborghini. I'll tell you what, we're getting some amazing racing from these drivers at the WeatherTech Raceway, and we're not even a third of the way in. So Sean Campbell is going to continue to fight this one out here with Gonzalez, and he's way deep on the brakes that time. And I thought he was going to wipe out the IVRA Racing Lamborghini. On board with Campbell now. No damage. I think he just got away with that. And the good thing, too, is if that was contact with how fast he was closing in, that most certainly would have sent Aranda around. It's one thing that Campbell could not afford in the race that has already kind of gone down the drain for him. Check back in on the battle for 17th place. That is just absolute chaos at the moment. T3 Motorsports trying to keep the rest of Bachelor's Porsche Bay. He just went wide to turn 6, and these are just swapping back and forth. So Paulo Rossi's Bachelor is trying to defend. He got ours up and bucket the Mercedes. Oh, and it's going to be off for the Munich-based Lamborghini. He's going to keep it on the course. Goodness gracious. Oh, and something's happened to the race leader as well. On top of all this, what is going on? Munich-based Racing, though, they've gone off course at turn 3. This is huge news for the drivers that have just been so dominant in the season so far. Your race leaders, though, spinning off at turn number 3, I think it was. Gonna take a look at the replay. We'll see if we can't figure out what happened to Iglesias. He had about a 4-second gap on second place. Has he clipped the gravel? Oh, yes, he has. Just like we saw the Audi do earlier in the race, just clipping the gravel, and that'll bring the Pearson's duo up to the forefront. And how about this for a fierce fight between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini duo? And there you can see the 116 and the 117 battling it out with each other now. A second apart between the Pearson's teammates for the overall race lead. My oh my, it's the race that just doesn't stop. RSR by Butt Kicker showing them as dropping down the order and having some more technical difficulties, but they're back in it now, up to 7th place. You still have got fierce scraps everywhere you look. How about this? The battle for 7th place down into turn number 3. Sean Campbell gets past Aranda. And XPD Emerald trying to fight back. You've also got Ingersoll in the mix. Is he right on board with Rodriguez? Possible move up into the corkscrew as they fire up the Graham Rahal straight. Not close enough for an attack that aggressive. Is not worth it. So at this point, the main battles in the field to watch for, you've got this fight for about the 7th position, but that might be, yes, that is going to be a fight for 7th position, excuse me. Between XPD Emerald and Ingersoll. You've also got the fight for 13th place. That's between Simtek and Ingersoll coming into the final corners. And there's also, of course, the ever-present fight for 19th place, which has settled down for now, but we'll touch up on that battle if that ever picks up again, because that was one of the most aggressive fights for back positions I've ever seen. Barrio Nuevo just took the inside of Aaron Ackles in the fight for 9th place, and you see Kazar Simerson running super wide, letting Simtek right through as well. So Barrio Nuevo really doing good work in his Ingersoll 135. battles everywhere you look, and just when you look away from one, that battle you just looked away from continues to just ramp back up. Keeps us constantly on our toes, trying to jump back and forth, find which battle to go after. Scrap for third place, picking up as well. Tristan Iglesias, of course, looking to regain his race lead. Tries to break later, tries to attack. Adam Isaacson, the 5-star 105. But being championship rivals, Isaacson is not going to let this one go without a fight. I think that attack into turn one compromised Iglesias to the point where he started to lose a good bit of time. He was off pace for the last couple of corners. Clips the gravel there. Careful, especially since it was that mistake that cost him the race lead in the first place. Still a lot of racing left to go, though, in the opening race on the day. Pit window will, I believe, open in the next 45 seconds here. So now will be a question of when do drivers come on in to make those driver swaps. Now, there are a couple of teams that are opting to go by themselves for this race, and you are allowed to have one race where you can do so. Those drivers are the 353. Mike Type will be on his own for the day. Reese Carl will be taking the Pure Sims Lamborghini on his own. Aaron Ackles, and because our Sim Racing 325 Lamborghini will be by himself. The R-Star Butt Kicker 167 taking a solo run today. Rune Janssens will be honing the 5-star BMW for the day. Niels Tjesters in the Vector by RSR Mercedes. And Sean Campbell in the 169 Mercedes. A good number of drivers opting to just take the reins by themselves for the one day. Pit window is officially open, and already a couple of drivers making calls to the pit lane. The first one in, Rusty Spatulas in the 213 Porsche. Looking to maybe get a leg up on the battle with the guys he was battling it out with on the racetrack. Continue to watch if Tristan Iglesias can find his way past 5-star, and at this point, it is going to be getting a little bit more patient. Look at how close, though, to the rear end of that Lamborghini. They are both closing in to Ross McFarlane in the McLaren MP4-12 CG3 just up the road. Iglesias once again looking to attack. Oh, he's there! And Isaacson can't cover him up this time round. Iglesias makes the launch. They bang doors on the exit of the Andretti hairpin. Isaacson pulls ahead for second place. Iglesias tried to bully his way through the second place. It didn't work. And he has a take slap as he clips the gravel on the exit of turn 3. Kazar Sim Racing Hydra and TR powered by Geeks Energy IVRA, both in the pit road this time by as well. So one by one, battle's starting to break apart as drivers slip in a pit road. Talk about a close call. That would have been the nail in the coffin for Iglesias' race. Now, honestly, at this point, it's obvious that you're faster than Isaacson on the road. I would pit now. Go for the undercut. And there's a, hello, Project Dynamic, Dawson Hess having it off. The 217 out, you saw him off on the right-hand side of the racetrack through the corkscrew. Kept it off track, though, and made it so nobody would be at risk of hitting him. Neither driver in the battle for third place pit. I wonder if Iglesias just wants to have a bit of fun here with Isaacson, and I wouldn't blame him. It is certainly funner to be racing with somebody as opposed to just running hot laps by yourself, essentially. Isaac Barclays hopped into the 225 machine. They've just exited pit road. And again, Iglesias is going off in turn 3. That third corner has been the 101 Lamborghini's nemesis so far today. Cost him the lead, and he has just not been able to get a clean run through there since. He's driving angry. Iglesias just can't find a way through. And hello, there's an Audi stopped in the pit entry lane. This is an interesting call here for SimTech. They definitely didn't take the pit entry as they can't cut it in as much as they might have liked. I don't think I've ever seen somebody make a mistake that badly though. And actually, already slow. Oh, he's got suspension damage. No wonder he was struggling to get into pit road. Talk about major suspension damage for the 107 machine. Oh, and that's where it came from. Loose out of 3, clipped the gravel on corner exit, and just slammed into the tire barrier. Shout out to our producer, Ryan Bauer, for catching that. That completely flew over my head. And I believe that could be it for the SimTech Motorsport 107 in race 1. No driver in that car just yet. What a shame. SimTech was looking for a solid run, and it was, as a matter of fact, a meatball flag gifted to the 107. No wonder they kind of struggled with it. Taking a look back up now to the fight for third place. Isaacson and Iglesias both making the same mistakes, both running a bit wide and losing time on the gravel, but both of them still catching McFarlane and the Pearson's McLaren. We're about halfway through this pit window now, so if you wanted to come in at halfway, this is the lap to do it. The 169 Mercedes, as well as XPD Emerald Racing, TR powered by Geeks Energy 153 are all in the pit road, and look at the flames spitting out the back of the McLaren. That is amazing. And that is, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan when it comes to driving the McLaren. I don't think it's the best sounding GT3 car. But the 12-year-old in me just cannot get enough of the flames spitting out the back of the MV4-12C, putting on a light show. It is one of those kind of wallpaper moments when you see the flames shooting out, and the best part is it happens every time he hits the brakes and downshifts the car. It's just absolutely incredible. You can see a good number of drivers in pit road at the moment. All those drivers with 0, 0, 0, 0 on the timing boards are currently in the pit lane, and they are going through driver swaps. And we'll see if these top 2, second, third, and fourth will join them. Still, they stay out. All 3 of these drivers wanted to go the distance. 5-Star now has the draft of Pure Sims in the MP4-12C just up the road, and that is no doubt what is helping keeping them in front. The 155 machine, meanwhile, just came into pit road, so did Ingersoll Randanosis. Pro 1 and the 134 also into the lane this time by. By the way, we want to figure out who's a Pro-Am, and Am. The pure purple car numbers on the timing boards, well, they are your Pro cars. The slightly brighter colors are the Pro-Am, and the almost pure white ones are the Am cars. You can also identify them. Card numbers that start with a 1 are Pro, card numbers that start with a 2 are Pro-Am, and ones that start with a 3 are the AM class drivers. Let's give it a kind of pick out where your favorite drivers are running so far and what class they might be running in at any given point. Starting to approach the end of the pit window here, and it's not going to be very long before we see that pit window close, which will be in about 3 minutes time. Remember, the 325 of Kazar Simonson Leo was disqualified. Oh, and there it is. There's the call. Eric Grove into the pit lane. And this whole time, that was McFarlane, it's been Eric Grove in the 117. And Iglesias in just behind him. It was McFarlane that qualified the car, though. And on top of that, both Pure Sims drivers are in fact into pit road. So Iglesias will try to see if he can't get out there first. But of course, Iglesias will not be the driver taking control of the car. That honor will fall to Andreas Thiel. McFarlane hops into the McLaren. Carl stays in the Lamborghini. That gives 5-Star Motorsports in the 105 machine the race lead. And I do not believe that Adam Isaacson has come to pits. In fact, he has not. So 5-Star Motorsports, one of the last drivers that has yet to come on down into pit, and he has to come in this lap because he's not going to make it around one more time before the pit window closes. And now Adam Isaacson makes that call to pit road right at the last possible lap. Good choice there for Adam Isaacson to enter pit road. Make sure you don't get that good old disqualification. We've seen that bite a couple of drivers already in the season. Would hate to see 5-Star in the main title rivals at the moment of Beniti fall victim to the same mistake. Joe Walters will be hopping into the 105 Lamborghini, and you're watching the 116 Lamborghini currently ripping around the racetrack. That is, of course, Reese Carriel. Trying to see if he can retake the race lead, and it looks like he will. Walters still sitting in pit road. And just there, you'll see 5-Star leaving the pits, but Pure Sims is back to the point. And with that, we're going to be seeing a potential fight on the exit. Walters out right in front of McFarlane, so he will split the Pure Sims duo. And we're up to the 105 now to try to keep that Lamborghini out in front, but McFarlane's looking to pounce in the 117 McLaren. Good run through turn 4. McFarlane's alongside for 5, and the 117 down the inside of the 105. Easy pass there for Ross McFarlane. I think Walters might have cut McFarlane a little bit of a break there. Tires, of course, still very cold, I'd imagine, on Gene Walters, as they did go for the tire change at pit road as well. Up over the top of the hill here into the course through out of the Rahal Straight. This is the fight for 8th at the moment. Right fourth, Max Palm in the TR powered by Geeks Energy Lamborghini, and right ahead of him is XPDM Racing, now headed up by Alberto Garcia Blasco. Taking over the reins from Hugo Gonzalez Aranda. Past halfway, pit window is now closed as well as of 1.5 minutes ago. So all scheduled pit stops are now complete on the night. And Walter's going to continue to close up on the back end here of Ross McFarlane. As we continue to enter the final minutes of this race, that's going to be a lunge. And Walter's trying to give it everything in the moment in his 105 Lambo to try to push himself a bit closer to getting that second step on the podium, trying to overtake McFarlane in the 117. I want to apologize really quickly to Eric Grove. I thought this entire time that McFarlane was driving the second stint. Never clued in. It was McFarlane, of course, that qualified the car. But it was Eric Grove that actually started the race. So severe apologies there to Eric Grove, and that is not a mistake that I imagine I'll be making the second time today, hopefully. 5-star continues to look to work this one out, and right behind them, you're going to be having the, well, as I say, the fight for 5th place picks up a bit. 9th place getting picked up. Oh, I say that, never mind. Palm just completely threw away the fight for 8th. So there will not be a battle for 9th place overall, as it would turn out. But you saw a fight between Vector by RSR pick up for all of a brief moment. "20 minutes left to go in this race." Check back, I guess, with these battles a bit deeper in the grid. Vector by RSR currently looking to be under fire potentially for 9th place. And there you can see being overtaken into the turn 6 king. That was Max Palm that went by them. Ted Lowendick for Vector RSR trying to see if he can't fight back in his 172 Mercedes. Now the Lamborghini just ahead of him was fighting for 8th 1 lap ago. But of course that battle was thrown away in turn 2. Got a bit too close to the XPD Emerald Audi. Ended up spinning it around right at the apex. Even further down the order, the fight for 15th place. Isaac Barclay for Kazar Simmerstein Hydra, trying to keep the likes of Stefan Jelvik at bay in the 167 RSR Mercedes. You saw actually a bit of a twitch from both drivers as they went through turn 11. And so, the 167 up the inside of Isaac Barclay, the 225 Kazar Simmerstein Hydra Lamborghini. Going to be trying to fight back, I mentioned, retake that overall 15th position, and now it'll be a question. Can he try to run that spot back down and try to take up yet another position here in the grid? This is going to be the big ticket question here as we enter the final 20 minutes of the opening race. But even after this first race concludes, don't go away. It'll be a 15-minute cool-down period, and then invert the top 20 and do it all over again for another hour. I'll see Aaron Ackles trying to close up as well. This is the fight for 12th place, and he is trying to get up to Benjamin Openkowski for Westwood Racing Esports, in the 287. So Lamborghini versus Audi. How many times have we seen this over the course of the day? Battle for 14th place starting to pick up once again. Michael Teichmann going to be under fire by the 167, and that position actually just swapping hands up into turn 2. So battles wherever you look over the field here, and you can now see the Kazar Sim Racing 325 still attempting to keep close with Openkowski. A lot of the battles so far in the field are starting to die off just a little bit more, and this is of no surprise. This usually takes place after the in this first race, right after pit stops, right? You'll have all these drivers that are split apart, and now you have to factor in lap traffic is a bit of a problem for a good number of drivers in this field. As a matter of fact, so far, you've only got 20 out of the 30 cars that started this race still on the lead lap. And only the top 14 within a minute of the race leader, the 116 car of Reese Carril in the Pure Sims Esports Lamborghini. Ted Lowendick has seen better days. He was set to have a solid start to this race, but a couple of errors, some from his own fault, some through no fault of his own, now see him, unfortunately, all the way down in 10th place, but still the up and up overall. Six spots gained. Not something to be ashamed of at all. And as we said to enter the final quarter of this race, I would like to bring in a colleague of mine, Taylor Burris, going to join us up at the broadcast booth for the remainder of this broadcast as well. Taylor, how's it going for you so far today, my friend?
Had to jump on a couple of planes, couple of trains in order to get over here after handling some other matters, but I am here. We're ready to watch these last 16 minutes here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and watching GT3 sports car racing is always an absolute fan favorite and absolute blast no matter what you're doing.
And happy that you're with us as well here, Taylor. We're starting to get a bit lonely up here all by myself in the broadcast booth, so glad you're able to hop in and lend a bit of a hand for us here today as we get set to enter the final quarter of this opening race, one of two for the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. Of course, it has been a relatively unique challenge a lot of these drivers have had to face. It's one of the most difficult tracks to overtake on the season, and I would honestly dare say that Oulton Park in the fall season, we saw a bit more overtaking than we saw here, but that is, of course, Oulton Park had a few harder braid zones. It was a much narrower track, but a wide track isn't everything if you don't have the room to be able to make those overtakes, and so far, that has been the main story. The fact that drivers have had such a hard time getting good drafting runs up these straights. It has been more about waiting for the guys in front of you to make mistakes.
It certainly is, and this track here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca can be one of those tracks where you can make a mistake in just about any section of the course as we watch some of these GT3 cars working their way down through the famous corkscrew, an area where we can see a lot of great passing opportunities as we watch the Vector by RSR car, Mercedes, working its way through here, the rainy curve. But it's going to be very interesting what they can accomplish in order to try to eliminate those mistakes as we ride on board with the Quasar Sim Racing of Aaron Ackles.
And so far, turn 3 has been the big trouble spot for a lot of drivers, and the main mistake there, clipping the gravel on corner entry. One of the most easy things to do. You have to switch back to the left side, though, so aggressively out of turn 2 in order to properly diamond off the corner, go for that racing line, and it just makes it such a difficult task to keep the tires out of the gravel, and that has been something that has cost a couple of drivers. We saw the 101 Munich Motorsports machine, who has won all 4 opening races so far, fall out of the race lead, so it looks like it will not be a 5-peat for them here at the WeatherTech Raceway, and their winning streak looks set to come to a close. But for other drivers, it has been, of course, only a benefit to them. Openkowski is one of those. He's been on the up and up so far, thanks to some of those mistakes all throughout the race. And he's been looking to keep Aaron Ackles at bay in the Quasar Sim Racing 325 Audi as well, or Lamborghini, excuse me. I tell you what, it's been a solid run for Openkowski, and he's looking set to hold off that and driver right behind him for just that little bit longer.
He's going to have to do it here for another 14 minutes as we watch time start to click down ever so much more. And then we have to restart and do it all over again for another hour. But a great battling right here on screen as we watch, I believe that's still that Quasar Lamborghini of Aaron, who's trying to find that opening around that Audi in that Westwood Racing Esports. And as they come out the rainy curve, a great drive between the two competitors as they come through the final set of corners through one of the most difficult corners here, that tight hairpin turn here on the final section.
And this hairpin is honestly a bit of a, it's in an interesting place to me, right? Because the longest straight is turn 1. But because the hairpin is there, they have to back it up so much, it prevents them being able to get any kind of a good drafting run all the way down the straightaway, which is why you really need to be right up along the back bumper when you're going through that corner, or alongside them if you're even going to have a hope on making something work in turn 2.
Yeah, you certainly have to do that in order to make the proper run and build enough momentum in order to get past your competitors here as we work their way through here. So far, this is the best battle out on the racetrack as they continue.
It's one of only 2 battles that's within a second of each other, and this one is the closer of those two, about 0.6 of a second separating 12th and 11th place for the time being. Everyone else just starting to run kind of solo laps or trying to work around getting by some lap traffic. I have to say, I have a feeling that we'd be seeing a few more interesting battles had we not had those 2 very big pileups on the opening lap, and it has not been a good run at all for a couple of those drivers. As is it just me, or did I see 14th place drop quite a ways down the timing order there? So, bit problems we would see for RSR once again. The Mercedes crews just not having a very fun time of it here at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, Sean Campbell currently, actually last time by ran the fastest lap last time by out of the top 5 in the race here, but still looking to see what he can do. Let's take a look and see if he made a mistake right around here. It goes a little wide off track through that section. That Mercedes has seen some better days here as he comes up here. Goes a little bit off track, loops it around, and into the tire barrier. Still keeps going, but I think it's safe to say their day is going to be done for that after that hard contact.
And potential more troubles for one of the Medici cars, and that is the Medici car that was finding itself well and truly demolished after the opening round. Oh, off at turn 6. Oh, coasted a bit too wide. Good job, though, to keep it out of the barriers there. That could have been disastrous. You saw how close he got there. But the tire bundle's on the right-hand side of the racetrack, and I've already seen a couple of times drivers going off at turn 6, but not quite to that extent. And usually, you go that far off, you're almost guaranteed a trip into the barriers, and that would have been the nail in the coffin for the 21st place driver's day.
Yeah, tough break indeed for him as he's trying to see if he can recover. Hopefully he can have a better run in race number 2 here in a few moments. So we reset, restack, and re-go at it again here, but it's going to be a long 11 minutes for these competitors who are coming up to the same section where he went off track. Let's see if he can do it here this time through, no problem. The answer is going to be a little wide, but it makes it through just good enough. He's going to let hit by his sister car, the 101, by here on this turn.
And also going to go through is Sean Campbell of the 169 Mercedes, and Campbell trying to close up to Andreas Thiel in the 101. That gap now about 0.4 of a second. It is closing fast. Sean Campbell has really turned the wick up in the 169 RSR Mercedes, trying to catch the current points leader and see if he can potentially put the current 4-time winners of the season down just one more spot. This could be an interesting run here for these drivers. Andreas Thiel trying to see if he can't make something work. Sean Campbell tries for it into turn 2, but not close enough to go for a proper dive bomb.
Couldn't make it work that time. He's going to try to see if he can set him up here pretty soon as they work their way through. Sean Campbell in that Mercedes trying to find the opening around Andreas. As they come out through this section of the course here, a great drive. But it's going to be a little bit tight to where he's not going to be able to make a pass this time. He may be able to have a shot up the Rahal straight towards the corkscrew if he gets a good run out of this corner. But right now it's going to be nose to tail between the two competitors.
Nose to tail through turn 6. The car's compressed. Campbell looks for the left-hand side. Does he think about a move up into the corkscrew? We've seen that attempted a couple of times, and it has never played out too pretty. Ops against it. He's going to bow out. But we have seen Campbell also be very good down these last 3 corners. And look at how close he is. Nothing between them. Campbell thinks about going forward into turn 10. No move made. Maybe an 11 if he can go for the dive bomb. Breaks a bit later. Tries for the lunge, but he's too far back. Andreas Thiel hangs on to 4th place for now, but I have a feeling Campbell's going to get through there one way or another, whether Thiel likes it or not.
Campbell's doing a great job with that Mercedes as they work up to the top of the Andretti hairpin here. Going to take it a little bit of a wider entrance, dive it down to the inside of that apex, hit the secondary apex through here. Loses a little bit of time, though, as that Lamborghini gets that great run off corner exit as they come through turns 3, then down the short chute over to turn 4.
Campbell continuing to close on now, but once again, Maniti started to falter. We saw this in the last battle when it was the likes of Tristan Iglesias on the offensive, about how he just kept clipping the gravel at every single corner, and now Thiel making the same mistake, only on defense, which is arguably a little bit worse, because now you're at risk of losing a position. Campbell closer than ever up to the corkscrew and out of the Grand Rahal straight, but still not bold enough to make that overtake into the corkscrew. That's the thing about the corkscrew, right? It's the second hardest braking zone on the racetrack off the second longest straight of the racetrack, but it is not an overtaking opportunity due to the nature of the corner itself. It's hard enough to go through the single file as he nearly runs over Thiel again.
Give a little bit of the bumper right there to that Lamborghini as they now go back into the tight hairpin of that final corner. Let's see if he gets a better run off corner exit, but he is really putting the pressure on Andreas and that T3 Motorsports Lamborghini as they come across the start-finish line right there, running almost identical lap times. Chick Campbell had the better run now, looks to the inside, can't quite make it work to the Andretti hairpin this time. Now shoves the no in, but can't quite make it work. Now he'll complete the pass off corner exit, but Andreas will try to fight back, but not this time around.
That was textbook there from Sean Campbell. As soon as he saw Maniti start to run a bit wider and open up the door just that nose, he slammed his foot and then just kicked the door wide open, and that puts Sean Campbell now up in a 4th place. And he's going to look set to try to pull a bit further away and see if he can't hang on now to a 4th place finish. Looks like Maniti might not have what it takes to go for that position, as already he's opened up a 7, a 10th gap, making 8 tenths now as they throttle up for the course through. 2nd place, also getting close. You got yourself 5-Star Motorsports and Joe Walters, as well as Ross McFarland and the Pure Sims McLaren MP4-12C. And I have to say, you don't see McLarens at all on the surface. Oh, there's a huge bumper, and Walters going to go through the final corner. Maybe they decided to give that up and let McFarland have another shot at defensive game there.
Yeah, you were touching about how that you don't see a whole lot of McLarens running in the service now, but ever since the recent GT3 update, you start to see a couple of more start to pop up throughout the racing world in iRacing, especially for the special events that include it at tracks such as Bathurst and Spa. But you see this McLaren probably having a strong performance running inside that top 3 ahead of course, a couple of other cars who is a Lamborghini leading this, the 2 Pure Sim Esports racers.
And Walters having a huge off at turn number 3. You saw him clip the gravel, just as we've seen drivers do time and time again. This time on corner exit though, and he went head on into the concrete wall on board on the replay, and Walters just spins off and goes careening head on into the wall. And that will no doubt be putting a very big damper on Walters' day. They were looking so good. I did such a phenomenal job to put that car into a solid position, and now they are about to lose their top 5 position here to their sister team of Rune Jensen's.
With that, that'll move Sean Campbell up into the podium position now for that RSR. He's about 5 seconds back from Ross McFarland. Currently, with 5 minutes left to go on the clock, I think it's safe to say for Campbell, just needs to sit out and ride it out in that 3rd position. But what a difficult situation, though, for that 5 stars of Joel Walters.
Yeah, such a shame. They were doing so well, but good news is they have got time before the end of this race yet to make something happen. And we'll see how this plays out in that little battle as it'll get set to tick on over into race number 2, and they're going to have to fight their way up and through the grid. And there you can see that is not a limited for position. That is lap traffic and lap traffic at that, looking to unlap themselves from 5th and 6th place. I think that really just goes to show that Walters kind of holding up these guys like they do in regard to that damage. I would not be surprised if that Lamborghini was now down on power as a result of that hard hit.
It certainly looks like that. You see the hood missing off of that Lamborghini, and it's definitely struggling and pace. We'll see what its time is when it comes across the line here next time by, but this Lamborghini has seen some better days as they come up the Rahal straight. Starts to pull away from one of the lap cars behind him, but as he hits the corkscrew, he loops it around again.
This time he goes out of the barriers, but goes from bad to worse, and I think that is just part of the damage that is on that car, right? It's just so much more unstable now. Likely got a bit of a hit to the suspension as well, and that I don't think it would be quite aerodynamic damage in a corner like that. That would be where the suspension just compresses on in and just unloads in a really bad way. And it looks like it just caught him off guard.
Yeah, that suspension seems to be really struggling for him right now as we watch and take a look at his car. This is actually now on screen, the battle for 11th, but he'll hopefully be able to come down pit road and get that fixed. But we have Westwood Racing battling against Quasar and the Ingersoll Rand. Of course, 3 different classes in this group, but still battling for that overall 11th spot held by the Westwood Racing's esports team of Benjamin Openkowski.
3 minutes left to go. Estimated 2 laps left on the clock, I'd imagine, as well, when they come around to, or when the leaders, I should say, come around to take the start finish next time by. 3 to go at the moment for the battles that we are currently watching on our screens. This is the last battle that is on the lead lap as well. I think it's worth mentioning. Up to 14 places been lapped. That's over half the field, showing how strong Pure Sims duo has been up there to get themselves as good of a running as they have so far. Here you can see race leader coming across down the hill. Reese Carrillo has just done a phenomenal job in his Pure Sims Lamborghini to keep that car exactly where he needs to, and has been up in front and out of trouble.
Certainly has been. Reese has been doing a phenomenal job working his way through traffic, working through the circuit, and if you notice that Lamborghini, not a single dent or scratch, keeping it clean compared to some of the other competitors racing here today. That is going to be the biggest key for some of these drivers to take note on when we do race 2 here in a few moments.
A minute 50 remaining. There will be 1 lap to go when we take the start-finish line next time by. On board with Aaron Ackles as he gets up and over the rail straight into the corkscrew, trying to see if he can reel in the extra couple of tenths up to Opankowski and fight for 12th place on the grid. Of course, it is worth noting that, like you mentioned, 2 different classes and 3 different classes in the group overall. So that would only work for Ackles to determine where he's going to be starting the race 2. That would not get him any more points though if he gets by him.
Yeah, it's certainly the case here as we ride on board with him, and he's got to try to find that opening he needs in order to try to pull away just a little bit to get some breathing room between him and the competitors behind him as that Quasar is trying to find his way through. As the Vector RSR sorry about that, wrong timing and scoring. The TR car is trying to work his way up to the field as we now are 13 cars on the lead lap.
And starting the final lap as well is going to be the 1:16 this time by, under 1 minute remaining in the opening race on the night. It has been a really powerful drive for the 1:16 Lamborghini, and for them it's going to be a sweet victory as well, because Muniti have won every single race so far this season. They got 1 car spinning off in front of them. That was Marcus Silva, the V-Racers BMW, but he's going to get off and out of the way, so no problems there for Kirill to worry about. But Muniti Racing have won races 1 and 2, 3 and 4 in the opening 2 rounds of the Winter Series Championship for the HyperX GT Sprint Series. And now, as Reese Kirill starts to throttle his way down through the last couple of corners of the final time in race number 1, Muniti's reign on the top of the boards will finally come to an end as Pure Sims exits through the final corner, and it will be Reese Kirill to win the opening race and the first non-Muniti Pro driver to win here at WeatherTech.
Stellar performance there for Reese Carl as he comes across the line. Beautiful drive as we watch here. Another battle for position about to unfold. This is between the Ingro Rand Enosi Pro 1 team of Carlos Ruiz trying to hunt down Joe Walters in the 5-star Lamborghini. As it's Audi versus Lamborghini as they come out of the corkscrew through the rainy curve for the final time. He's going to try to put immense pressure on that Lamborghini through the few corners that are left as he tries to find the opening. Comes through turn number 9 as they approach the final corner. He's going to try to see if he can send it in, but it's not close enough. He's going to have to settle for that 7th position.
He will indeed be forced to settle, and now we're just waiting on the last few drivers to find their way across our finish. The last battle, this one for 11th, 12th, and 13th on the grid, with 10th place just crossing the line now. And all these drivers too far back to be able to have a look in the final corner. So unless one of these guys goes off at the last corner, it'll be a solid run for these drivers, and they will have a nice quiet finish so far to end out race number 1. And now all drivers across the grid. Let's take a look at your official post-race results here from round number 1 here for the HyperX IVRA GT Sprint Series. And it is going to be none other than Reese Kirill for Pure Sims Esports taking the race win by 18 seconds over Ross McFarlane in their sister car in the McLaren. Sean Campbell rounds out the podium with Andreas Thiel in 4th. Rune Janssens will be in 5th place with Joe Walters in 6th. It's Carlos Oses Ruiz in 7th with Hugo Gonzalez Aranda for XPD Emerald Racing in 8th. And it will be TR powered by Geeks Energy in 9th with Vector by RSR in 10th place, Taylor.
We move on to the 11th position. It's Benjamin Opankowski from Westwood Racing Esports, who made there with Aaron Ackles in the Quasar Sim Racing in 12th. Jorge Correa in the Ingersoll Rand team will be in 13th, followed by the RSR by Buttkicker team in 14th. TR powered by Geeks Energy of Michael Teichman will come home 15th with Isaac Barkley in 16th. 17th will be the Vector by RSR team. They'll also be 1 lap down, followed by Rusty Spatulas in 18th. The World of Sim Racing team will come home in 19th, and then one of the T3 Motorsports of Rio Contrel will be coming out in 20th.
In 21st place, it will be Oblivion Racing with Marius Young for T3 Motorsports, 22nd, 1 lap down. Marco Silva for V Racers crashed on the final lap. He'll be finishing 3 laps down in 23rd. Jason Taylor's for Jason Tails Racing. How about him finish off at 24th place? So a bit of an interesting opening run for the brand new team coming into the GT Sprint Series tonight. We'll see if they can have a bit of a better run in race number 2. Project Dynamics in 25th place with Valorous M Sport in 26th. Simtype Motorsport in 27th with Eclipse Racing, Olympus Esports, and Cube Racing all marked as DNFs after being collected in the lap 1 melee early in the opening lap of this race. So it'll be a top 20 reverse grid, and that will be putting the likes of T3 Motorsports by Manizzi, who are finishing 1 lap down, the 173, headed up by Rudy Knopfel, going to be out there on pole position, and that'll put, of course, your race winners in the Pure Sims Esports 116 all the way down in 20th place. We know how these reverse grids can really shake up the running order, and they can really create some absolute carnage in the opening laps. It happens every single week, Taylor, and I would imagine it'll be a similar situation. It's just a question of where on the track it'll take place at.
And with it being at a track such as WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, it's bound to happen anywhere. From the Andretti hairpin to the corkscrew to turn 6 to the final hairpin there at turn number 10, or turn 11, it's going to be absolutely chaotic here on this start for this second race. But the drivers are going to take a look at some things, maybe make some quick adjustments during this second warm-up, and then we'll get started here for race number 2.
I want to as well reiterate the fact that there is, of course, a HyperX giveaway currently ongoing for tonight's event. And the grand prize for round number 3 tonight will be a Cloud 2 wireless gaming headset. And all you got to do is pop into the Easter egg, and if you can know what it is, well, you can enter that giveaway by utilizing the links that are pinned in the description as well as in the comments section down below. Of course, you can also enter the bid to win for the season if you can pick out all the Easter eggs over the course of the season. You can enter the season-wide giveaway, and you can enter all of the for a chance to win all the goodies you see down below, including a Blackout Gaming headset, Elite 2 mechanical keyboard, Pulsefire gaming mouse, and a Pulsefire RGB gaming mouse pad. So some pretty sweet goodies there if you were looking to potentially upgrade your computer setup. Everything you might need to get going, and well, there you have your little Easter egg. You know what that is? Well, enter the giveaway by utilizing the links that you can find down in the description and in the comment section below. So it is going to be a pretty entertaining second race on the night. We're going to take a brief 5-minute step away, and we'll be back with race number 2 in just a few moments.
can't accept and ignore. Just kicking down all the doors. Guarantee you, boy, if I ask for it, it's gotta be real big. I gotta make it just for my kids and for their kids' kids. That's wealth years and years. Promise my brother soon as he out and finished his bid, we finna do it bigger than anybody ever did. The odds is real big. Jobs that's real big. Satan trying a little, my God is real big. Stayed up on the ground and the cards is real big. I gotta do it big. The only way that I can live.
And welcome back to the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna, Seca. Just over 5 minutes left to go before we go set for race number 2 from tonight's event in the third round. So we get set to end off the first half of the season. My name is Lola Red Bull, and now I've got Taylor Burris beside me in the broadcast booth, and once again, Ryan Bauer doing good work behind the cameras for us for tonight's presentation. Happy that everybody is joining with us for some more exciting action on a Sunday afternoon, and I tell you what, it has just been some phenomenal racing so far throughout the course of the night. It has been one of those racetracks where it's hard to overtake, but these drivers have certainly made the most of it, Taylor, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do in the reverse grid race.
I'm certainly looking forward to this race as well. A lot of drivers had to learn a couple of things from the race number 1. Of course, we saw a lot of carnage on that first race, but hopefully after this second race, some drivers maybe dial it back a little bit, realize it's an hour race. It's a sprint race to a degree for some drivers. For some, it could be an endurance race considering what type of driving they're used to. But as a matter of fact, the one thing they have to keep in mind is being patient and choosing the right time of when to push and attack and the right time to back off and survive this race, especially at a track as difficult as at Laguna Seca.
With a little bit of time left to go before we go green flag racing, why don't we check in one more time with the standings for this series so far. It has been a pretty open and shut championship for Munich Racing so far. They, of course, capped off the opening 2 races with back-to-back wins in both events. Though they entered this event 400 points with 98 points to the good. That, of course, has certainly changed around on them ever since they did not take home a race win here tonight. So that gap, I imagine, has definitely started to shrink, and we'll see what that will mean for them as they get set to hold on to that points lead, exiting tonight's race and entering Long Beach. Street circuit racing can certainly be a big equalizer when it comes to road course racing, especially in GT3 cars like these.
You're talking about cramped and narrow conditions here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Let's double that when we go to Long Beach next week. It's going to be a track that provides a lot of great racing, but also a lot more chaotic, especially when you head over to the Fountain Curd.
And of course, Munich not only leading just the Pro Series, but in fact the Pro-Am Series as well, as you can see them once again in the points lead, but not by nearly as much. They're 98 points clear in the Pro standings, only 31 in the Pro-Am Championship. That, of course, entering tonight's race. They did not have the best of runs in their sister team over to Okoyama just a couple of weeks ago. Only scored 146 points there, so it has not been a very fun time for them so far throughout this series, but it's been good enough that they found themselves up on pole. And only 6 teams in the AM standings, and it is still somehow as close as ever, right? The top 3 separated by just 12 points, and when you can score over 101 race, that is unbelievably tight.
It certainly is very tight indeed, and it just shows how very important it is to be able to get as many points as possible in this championship in order to come out on top here. But as we'll close up warm-up, the question is going to be who's going to be able to keep that momentum on their side in order to expand or close in on a championship win.
It'll be an interesting run, especially for a lot of those drivers that were collected in the opening race, right? I mean, you have guys like Cube Racing, Olympus Esports, Eclipse Racing, Simtech Motorsports, who found themselves out of the racing in just the open lap of the race, and through no fault of their own, right? It was only 1 or 2 drivers that got together, and it just clogged the entire racetrack up. Out of turn number 4 in the sprint down for 5, you had a secondary crash. Out of turn 6 on top of that, you had about 9 drivers collected in spins on just the first, really half a lap of the race tonight, and of course, that eliminated a good number of cars, which kind of helped the racing die off a bit quicker than it usually does for the GT Sprint Series. And I have to ask, will this be a similar story tonight? I would hope not. I would love to see some more racing instead of some of the processional single-file racing that we were seeing a little bit deeper in Race 1.
We'll have to find out indeed. I think some of these drivers will probably ump the ante a little bit in order to see if they can get some extra points for their championship competition. But overall, I think some drivers also need to realize that they want to at least get some good points. And in order to do that, they cannot get caught up in an early incident like we saw in Race 1.
So just 60 seconds until we get set to go racing for race number 2. And once again, really happy that you guys are all joining us with you on what should be an absolutely thrilling second race on the season tonight. And it has been an interesting race, to say the very least. You've had various little trends that we haven't necessarily seen throughout the course of the season. The racing has been a lot more methodical. It's a lot less punchy out on the racetrack. These drivers have more been having to apply mental pressure to their opponents, right? They have been having to force their opponents into mistakes, and you've had a little bit of contact here or there, but overall, the pass have been made when other people have just made up mistakes themselves, running wide, braking too early, braking too late, so on and so forth, even just crashing out altogether. Regardless, the racing has still been absolutely fantastic.
It certainly has been, and a lot of that's what's so amazing about GT racing. You have a mixed class of drivers of different skill levels who will try to push the absolute limit in order to bring home a victory in their respective classes.
Checker flag is out on the 15-minute warm-up session, and it is time to go racing once again here in the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. And it is time for reverse grid racing as well. So let's take a rundown of your starting grid for race number 2. It is Rudy Knopfeld for T3 Motorsport by Munich in the race lead, with Ruben Escriba-Raloy for World of Sim Racing on the front row in second place. Both those drivers finished 19th and 20th in the opening race of the night. They're going to be starting now on the front row. Juga Tainio in Rusty Spatulas for the Porsche is going to be up in third place, with Niels Tiesters in fourth. Isaac Barkley for Kazar Sim Racing is fifth, with Michael Teichmann in the sixth here, Taylor.
In row number 4, we'll find Stefan Heidflick, who will be in the 167 RSR in 7th, with Jorge Correo in the Ingersoll Rand in the 8th spot. Aaron Akels will be starting in 9th with the Quasar Sim Racing Lamborghini, followed by Benjamin Opanowski rounding out your top 10. In 11th will be Ted Lowendick in the Vector by RSR Mercedes, and then rounding out in row 6 will be Max Pallame in the Lamborghini.
It'll be Alberto Garcia Blasco for XPD Emerald Racing in 13th, with Carlos Oces Ruiz in 14th place for Engel Serrandosis. Jill Walters is for 5-Star Motorsports in 15th place in the Lamborghini, with Rune Janssens in 16th. Andreas Thiel for T3 Motorsports is 17th. Sean Campbell finished 3rd overall in the first race. He'll be starting in 18th.
Ross McFarland will be in 19th with his McLaren, and our winner from race 1, well, he's going to be starting in 20th. Reese Carl in the Pure Sim Esports Lamborghini in 20th. Then it's Vitor Brat in the Oblivion Racing in 21st, with Marius Junkie in the T3 Motorsports by Mantini.
And that'll put the likes of Marco Silva for Vive Racers in 23rd, with Jason Taylor for Jason Tails Racing in 24th. And that'll, of course, leave the likes of Project Dynamic, Valorous M Sports, Simtech Motorsport, Eclipse Racing, Olympus Esports, and Cube Racing to round out the 30-car grid. Top 20 cars got reversed. The bottom 10, we'll have to hope that there's some serious carnage up the road. So as we get set to go racing once again for race number 2, 1 more hour for mandatory pit stops once again between 25 and 35 minutes into this race, with the reverse grid being considered. Then, well, your kind of view of the performance in race number 1 here, Taylor. I've asked, who would you pick to potentially come out on top of all of this?
Oh, that's such a tough decision and choice here. Of course, you know, we saw the strong performance by both Pure Sim Esports, but the roles are reversed. They're starting towards the back of the field and have to fight their way through. Meanwhile, the T3 Motorsports as well as World of Sim Racing are up towards the front of the field. But I would have to say, keep an eye on those 5-Star Motorsports of Joel Walters and Rue Janssen. They have definitely showed a lot of speed before they got caught up in some incidents late in the going. Keep an eye on those two.
Two different corners left to go racing, left to go before we go racing here. I cannot talk all of a sudden today.
Join the club.
Not going to be up there on pole position. Pace car is down and then to pit road, and it's time to be racing for 1 more hour before the racing ends here tonight. Knopfeld's going to hold the grid for a brief moment. They're going to let the field dice their way through the final corner. As we get set to come across the start-finish line, it's time to go racing once again here for the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. Green flag is out, and the field all condenses together, clusters up in the mad dash turn of 1. Already 3 abreast. Look out, perfected by Arso, looking for the high side. Trouble mid-pack. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars all going around in the mid-pack. It's complete calamity. 2 of the Veneti cars off in turn 1 as well.
How about also one of the Pure Sim Esports drivers as well? I believe that's McFarland. Or actually, no, Reese Carls might have been involved in that incident in the Lamborghini. We'll have to take a look at that later, but right now it is T3 Motorsports of Rudy Knuffel who will take the lead right now in his Lamborghini, followed by the Porsche of the World of Sim Racing team.
Thundering back out up the hill towards turn number 6, and you see the field all ducking and diving through the kink. And there goes the other Pure Sims McLaren off way in the background. That time it was McFarland that went off way in the field, as well as that. I believe there was an Olympus Esports Lamborghini that went, Oblivion Lamborghini that went around as well. So yet more calamity over at turn number 6, just like it was in race number 1.
Calamity here in the early stages for our competitors as they continue to try to work their ways and set up here. But as the field works their way through, there you see that Oblivion Motorsports machine, and now the field comes across the line. We see how everything looks to be, and it's the Rusty Spatulas in second place. Now we'll lead up through the field in that second place, but here comes a big send by Niels Giestras in that Vector RSR Mercedes.
A huge lunge by Giestras up the inside of Juka Tainio, and there was a great attack there from Vector by RSR. Tainio trying to already fight back in the Rusty Spatulas 213 Porsche 911 GT3. And just behind them, you also got Max Palm for TR powered by Geeks Energy trying to make a move on Kazar Simmerstein. That's going to go out perfectly for him. Vector tried for a 3-wide move. No move being made there for him. He had to back out. Now the field looking set to be single filed out for about the first time all race long so far. But what an opening lap there. There was a couple of spins here or there, a couple of different places, and one very familiar one. Turn 6, once again, striking big here in the HyperX GT Sprint Series, as we've got a couple of drivers looking to make moves up into the corkscrew, but nobody really able to properly commit to it. I say that, there goes 5-Star Motorsports down the inside of Sean Campbell at the apex of the corkscrew.
That was Joel Walters in his Lamborghini sending a big send on Sean Campbell through the corkscrew. You don't see that happen often, but when you do, it's amazing. Now he'll send it up to the inside through the hairpin of turn 11 right beside him. He's going to go side by side. Can't complete the pass of that secondary Vector RSR or Mercedes now of Ted Lewendick as they now work their way through. Here's Sean Campbell. Contact! 3 wide! Gathers it back up and makes contact to his teammate in the BMW.
Oh, this is not good. Trouble. The car stopped in the middle of the circuit down at turn 2. And both 5-star motorsports cars being taken out by one incident. And I have to wonder who was more involved there. Sean Campbell made a very late dive, but Walters made an even later dive down the inside. That was just complete calamity at turn 2. And once again, drivers find themselves unfortunate enough to be out of the race early on. Here's a replay of what just transpired down at the Andretti hairpin.
Ooh. I'd hate to be race control right about now to try to determine that one. Both, I'd say, Walters and Campbell definitely were two drivers who did not need to make such an aggressive move. There really was not a hole big enough to stick either one of those cars into that section. And unfortunately for the 5-star motorsports team, they are going to be back towards the back of the field once again here tonight.
Man, such a tough run. And already we're getting deep into this race, right? I mean, we're talking already just a few minutes in and already 4 laps down, and it is only continuing to kind of pick on up as the race goes along. And you can now see Vector by RSR trying to keep the likes of Rusty Spatulas and Tyneo at bay. We've also got RSR by Butt Kicker in the 167 Mercedes trying to see if they can't maybe put together another strong performance here in race number 2. And I've imagined that Stephanie is going to be trying to make a look of the inside of the 213 Porsche before long. There's going to be the look into turn number 5. To the inside of the Porsche goes the Mercedes. And RSR by Butt Kicker puts themselves back up into the podium positions.
Strong drive there by that Mercedes as he is on the move. That RSR by Butt Kicker looking to try to see if they can go at least 2 for 2 when it comes to podiums, even though different drivers as they work their way through the Rahal straight up to the top of the hill through the corkscrew. He wants more though. He wants to get around Niels in that Vector RSR machine to get that second place.
It's a solid run so far. The 167 closing in on Diesters in the 171. Will it be moved bait into the last corner? No, not close enough. Maybe turn 1 if he can carry enough of a momentum. Costilla makes it tighter, doesn't run out as wide. So Diesters might find himself in a little bit of trouble here in the mad dash down in towards the Andretti hairpin for the 5th time in the second race. Looking for the inside, going for the move. The 167 up the inside. Mercedes versus Mercedes. Diesters trying to break early and go in for the crossover, but just couldn't get there. Tell you what, that was an excellent move from Hauswick to be able to work his way up there and overtake and hold the momentum high side through turn 2.
I'd say that would be a pass that the great Mario Andretti would be approved of when it goes into that hairpin there for him. Named famously after him here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Beautiful job by Stefan in order to move up into second place.
It's about 3 seconds up to the T3 Motorsports by Venezia 173 machine, so we'll hopefully see potentially if he can close up and give us a battle for the race lead. But for now, we've still got these battles deeper in the field, right on board with Max Palm. The TR powered by Geeks Energy 153, trying to close it to Isaac Barclay, and they're all being held up by Drew Catania with Rusty Spatula's Porsche at the head of this thing. The Lamborghinis have been so strong at most of the races so far in this season. And the Porsches have been significantly on the back foot. So it's impressive, I think, that Tyneo was held on to a position this high for this long.
It certainly has been an interesting scenario when it comes to the IVRA with their BOP in order to give as much difference as well as the similarities to make sure each car has a chance of winning here. Porsche seem to be struggling a little bit here because really looking through the field, there's only a couple of Porsches running. Most of the field is dominated by either the Mercedes or the Lamborghinis.
See a couple of drivers making moves up into turn number 2. Among them was Alberto Garcia Blasco getting past Sean Campbell. So XPD Emerald Racing getting past Campbell. That was for the battle for 8th place. Braked a little bit later up into turn 2. Campbell finds himself down in 9th place. It hasn't necessarily gone Campbell's way in his bid to try to get himself back up onto the podium. Looking to fight back though, potentially. Take that one away into turn 5 as look up now once again to Tainio as he looks set to see if he can't maybe re-attack Niels Tiesters in the 171 vector by RSR Mercedes.
He's going to try his best down the Rahal Straight as they go up to the top of the hill through the corkscrew, hits the braking zone, and stays right on the back bumper of that Mercedes as they come careening down the hill up to the rainy curve. Lamborghini's in hot pursuit of them as well as they work their way through.
It's starting to be a question of who's holding up who, right? Is it the Porsche that's holding up the Lambos, or is it the Merc that's holding up all three of them? But really deep on the brakes that time for Max Palm. I thought he was about to run over the Porsche just in front of him, but Tainio got the throttle off before that could happen. But he's not going to be close enough to have a realistic attack up into the Andretti hairpin. It's just not close enough. This is, again, a really big issue that these GT3 cars have got when it comes to GT racing. Now Laguna Seca, that final corner, you can get so much throttle down with the power in these cars before the draft actually kicks in. They just don't have a long enough run from that far back to have a move being made up into the Andretti hairpin on the longest straight on the racetrack.
No, they certainly don't, and that's why you got to be careful and time it perfectly to get on your corner entrance. As now we see the pass for that fourth position. To the inside goes the T3, powered by the Geeks Energy IVRA Lamborghini. To the inside of the Rusty Spatulas, as they will now complete the pass as they come up the Rahal Straight. This opens the door for Isaac Barkley in the Quasar machine. He'll look to the inside as they go to the top of the hill.
And on board with Barkley as Tainio thought about attacking on the outside line of the course to get that spot back, but thought better of it, decided it was just easier to back out. But he's got Sean Campbell pressuring him. Campbell looks for the outside line, and he's going to take that one away through turn 10, outside line. And I think Tainio might have just allowed Campbell to get that one. The Mercedes on a charge, trying to put itself back up to make it an RSR double podium in the second race on the night. And the head of this train, Max Palm, has caught up to Niels Tiesters in the fight for third place, and he's going to dive to the inside into the Andretti hairpin.
He's going to send it in and do a great job right there, but not close enough to complete the pass here as we go back on board here with that RSR machine of Niels Tiester in that fourth position. Gets a good run off corner exit. He's going to get right on the back bumper as they come up to turn 3, now making the long run to turn 4 and 5. A great drive for Niels.
And already going to fight back into turn 5, but holy cow, Max Palm, talking about a big defense, realized that Tiester was going to get in there, so he just simply didn't let him get his foot in the door, slammed it shut, and put him in a situation, if he didn't back down, he probably would have wrecked him, and Tiesters backed out he did. And right behind them, how about Sean Campbell looking to make an overtake into the corkscrew. Isaac Barkley gonna have to go defensive with the Kazar Simmons in Hydra 225. Just didn't have it to keep Sean Campbell at bay. That was a brilliant move there.
It certainly was. Absolutely beautiful move right there for Sean Campbell. He is a man on the mission in that Mercedes as he sets his sight on one of the sister cars of Max Paulin for that third position on the podium.
And now, Sean Campbell looking to overtake Niels Tiesters down the front straightaway. Tiesters moves aside, lifts a little bit to let Campbell have it. Does not want any part of the battles, but Isaac Barkley trying to go at him as well. He thought about being a little bit cheeky there. Barkley realized what Campbell was doing and thought he could get a bit of an easy overtake there. One free position because he was going a bit slower. Boy, did Niels Tiesters ever tell him otherwise.
He certainly did. He tried to show the move and tried to show the nose to get around him. Couldn't make it work this time around, but as they continue to work out of turn 4, you're right on board with Barkley, and he tried to send it in through turn 5, but not this time around. He's going to make his way up to turn 6.
And this is the racing that we really missed out on big time in the opening race on the night, and now we really get to see just how good these guys can race, where they're all in one big clean pack with each other. Barkley braking a bit earlier. It was Tiesters to brake a bit later. Now there are obviously different advantages to this. Tiesters gets ahead of the braking zone, but you saw how much Isaac Barkley reeled in on acceleration. The good news is it's very difficult to overtake through the raining curve, and Niels Tiesters will find himself now hanging on to that 5th place and struggling to hang on just to get a top 5 here.
He certainly is struggling, but he is still keeping up with the pace right now of Niels. Currently, as they come across the line, they ran almost identical lap times compare to each other as they came across that line. Absolutely stunning pace between the two of them, but not enough to keep up pace with Sean Campbell, who is the fastest car on the racetrack.
Sean Campbell very much still the driver to beat, and Campbell, you mentioned it before, on a mission. He wants to see if he can't go through and potentially take away a race win from the 173 at Munich machine, driven up by Rudy Nutfeld. And now, Niels Siesters once again on defensive against Isaac Barclay, the 225, steadily trying to close his way a bit further up the grid, and this could be a difficult run for Barclay. It's not easy to overtake a Mercedes. They tend to make those cars as wide as possible. Oh, Barclay's getting close, and he gives the bumper to him at the corkscrew.
Now, Nolan, one thing you have had the privilege of seeing is some beating and banging action in some other series, especially on the oval short track side of things, but now we're really starting to see it step up a notch here today in the road course GT racing, where these drivers are not afraid to put the bumper to each other here at this race.
They certainly are not, and it does make for some absolutely thrilling scenes, right? It's not like the real world where you have one small hit and that immediately puts you at risk of catching fire and the likes like it would in the real world. You can actually get a little bit physical in these GT3 cars. In fact, I would say in terms of the GT3s and the GT4s, I would dare say these GT3 cars are a little bit more durable for stuff like that. They can really take a beating and still have some very surprising pace underneath them.
We also got to remember, too, it was just also from the previous week during the Week 13 build, these GT3 cars got a little bit of updates to help with a better improvement of racing here on the iRacing service. So this is a good opportunity for us to see that talent showcased here today as the field works their way through and continues to see what they can do. But watching that of Isaac Barclay trying to catch up to that Mercedes.
No movement this time up into the course, but right behind them, you've also got a bit of a scrap, but for the 7th position, Jugatayneil is starting to lose a bit of time to Glasgow as Serral off at turn 6. So an apparent problem for the Simtech Motorsports drivers. 107 has not had a very good day. Finished 27th overall, Motorsports 15th. Oh, and just went wide, and then, oh, he did go head on into the barriers. Gosh, that is rough. They were looking to be on the up and up, and it's another disappointing day for the 107 crew.
It certainly is very disappointing to see that happen here as we keep an eye and see if he's going to be able to improve that. For Standa in that Simtech Motorsports 107, he's going to have a long day ahead of him.
Quarter of the way through this second race on the day, 45 minutes just under left to go. You've also got in the middle of this big battle we're watching for these top 10 spots, Ross McFarland for Pearsons has worked his way back up with the likes of Reese Carroll not too far behind. Now, of course, remember they were taken out in the lap 1 pile-up in the Andretti hairpin. They've been slowly crawling their way back up through the order, and now are once again threatening for top 10 positions. That is exactly what you love to see with racing like this. They did not back down, and they are certainly not about to back down now. On board with McFarland. Hello, Ted Lowenday making a move on Aerodactyls to go through, and Ross McFarland going to take advantage of that, sweep through into the top 10.
And he wants more. How about this? Ross McFarland trying to get to the back bumper of that Vector RSR Mercedes and putting the pressure on him. Great drive as you ride on board with him up through turn number 10. He'll send it down to the inside, hug that apex. Tries to see if he can set up turn 11. Goes to the high side. Going to take the long way around and try to see the crossover possibly. Not enough, though, to make it work.
But look at how close he is. That is close enough to make the draft work for you down the run into the Andretti hairpin. And already you see Vector by RSR looking to the left. They're going defensive. McFarland will have to fight this the long way around. Deeper on the brakes. McFarland's going to carry the momentum around through turn 2. Try as he might. I don't think Ted Lowenday will be able to fend him off. It's still dead even. Out of 2 and down for 3. And can't hold him off. McFarland goes through now into 9th.
Beautiful pass by Ross McFarland to get into that 9th position as he gets around Ted Lewandijk as he pulls his way down this stretch here, heading over into turn number 4 and 5.
Next target in McFarland's sights, Alberto Garcia Blasco, still fighting for 7th place, just up the road in turn 6. Oh, one more car off course, and who's that? That was off. That was Marcus Silva for V-Racers in the 333 BMW. Already was a lap down, just clipped the sausage curb in turn 6 that went into the barriers. So we'll keep our eyes on these leading groups here. And how about we check in on the battle for 5th place, because Tiesters is still having a rough time on trying to keep Isaac Barclay at bay at the head of this pack in the battle for 5th.
He certainly is. He's kind of also trying to close the gap as well between the other two competitors behind him. That is, of course, the Rusty Spatula's Porsche and the XPD of Alberto Garcia Blasco, who is right there behind him as well. So you have 4 cars battling for that 5th spot as they approach the Andretti hairpin. Here comes Barkley right there in the mix. As they comes out of the hairpin, they head up to turn number 2. Not close enough to make the pass yet, but he's trying to send it a little bit deeper. But we see that Niels is able to get the better runoff corner exit compared to Isaac Barkley.
Oh, Barton got such a good run, though, through turn 4, down for 5, dead even, and pulls alongside. Tiesters looking to pinch in the Vector by RSM machine. The Merc's not having it, though. He still has the inside line. Drivers up for the king. This could get tight. And Vectors by RSR forced to yield. Barclay forced the issue and got through. And now Chukatineo goes through. Picks up 6th place as well. Vector by RSR just falling like a stone here. Side by side with XPD into the corkscrew. Oh, there's a bit of contact almost, but XPD of the Lamborghini gets through just in time. And just like that, Tiesters fall from 5th all the way back to 8th.
Chaos here happening in this middle stage of today's race. Here comes McFarland. He'll look to the inside as they approach turn 11. Thinks better of it. Backs off, but now he gets a great run off corner exit. Let's see if he can continue that momentum and maybe try to set it. He's got his teammate of Reese Carls right there in 10th spot as well.
This could be interesting. It could be a Pure Sims 1-2 duo trying to team up against Niels Tiesters and the Vector by RSR machine. This time by, though, the 171 really carried the inside line beautifully there and will fend off McFarland for now. But you know that 117 car is going to find a way through sooner or later in his McLaren MP4-12C. Who knows when this battle could pick up again, but you know it's not going to be long before McFarland is making another look and another dive to go for that move.
Certainly is. We're going to have to wait and see how that will come about here as they continue to do battle. Now you see the 2 Pure Sim cars trying to close up as you're on board with Reese Carls in his Lamborghini. How about the flames erupting out of that McLaren as they come up the Rahal straight, heading over to the corkscrew. You see now McFarland tries to take a look to the inside, can't make it work, gets right up on that back bumper of the Mercedes, but Reese Carls trying to give him plenty of room in order to try to not make contact between the 2 teammate cars as they come through Rainey.
Still really leaning on the rear wing there of Niels Tiesters. This time it's a dive into turn 11. Haven't seen this so far from McFarland all day today. And I think that might just be pass completed. And in fact it is. Tiesters immediately jumps back in line to try to fight back. But he's got to look out for Carrillo, who's looking to go for it as well. This could be disastrous. Carrillo thinks better 3 wide. Tiesters tries for the inside line. McFarland's forced to take it high. But this time, the McLaren once again rips the high side out of turn 2. And through the Andretti hairpin, McFarland will hold on to the 8th place. I think that will be now a secured 8th place for the 117 at last.
He's going to try to make it work this time as they work their way down through turns 3 and 4 and now approach up to turn number 5. Great battling here as we see Reese Carl look to that inside, complete the pass as they approach turn 6.
And now TS is forced to yield as they hit turn number 6. And oh, Chukatineo off the road. The Rusty Spatula's Porsche off course and tumbling like a rock. Oh, and there's a move by TS to the inside of the corkscrew. But Carroll still covers him off, and Jesters just can't make it stick. He certainly tried, though, and it was a close call. The Vector by RSR 171 Mercedes now nose to tail with their sister car, the 172. And now they're in the first positions both inside and outside of the top 10. And it looks like now Jester will stop the bleeding, but what an effort.
What an effort indeed for Testers. He's got his sister car of Ted Lowendick right behind him. That'll give him a little bit of a breather, maybe. And that's just as I say that, Ted's going to be like, thank you very much, teammate. I'm going to pass you by to get that 9th spot away. That'll move him back to P10 with the next car, another Quasar car of Aaron Ackles, right there in 11.
And all the while, You've also got these drivers in behind still looking to battle it out for positions in and around the top 10, including Tainio, who dropped back a long way as a result of going off course at turn 6. On board with Jorge Correa in the Ingersoll Random Pro 2 135 Audi R8 LMS, and you saw him look for the inside on Eccles' Kazar Sim Racing Lamborghini. But once again, just not close enough. Look at the run, though, that he's got. A terrible drive out of the turn number 6. I think Eccles has a slowdown penalty. Slowing down a bit much. He'll let Andreas Thiel through in the 101. And Westwood Esports will almost go through as well.
Yeah, you got to be careful with some of the track limits here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. There is a couple of areas where you have to be careful on where to set the car up. Otherwise, it will cost you valuable seconds, and he might have been cost dearly on that regards.
Pit window is going to open soon, and we'll look to see, will we be seeing any drivers coming into pit road as soon as the pit window opens up. Battle all starting to pick up for 6th place. Ross McFarlane has caught up to Alberto Garcia Blasco in the fight for 6th place, the 190. So battle is really kicking up everywhere you look throughout the racetrack, right? You just cannot go anywhere without finding somebody looking to make an attack on somebody for a position.
Yeah, it's going to be so critical that everywhere you look, there is battles all over the place here, whether it be battles for certain positions or it could be battles just inside that top 5, which has been happening all race long. A couple of other battles happening around 15th to 20th, but overall still just such great racing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
And arguably, this is a really big step up from what we saw in race number 1. Because already in the opening race, it was really, really processional. You didn't have a whole lot of drivers that were within even a second of each other. Just drivers kind of just running around waiting for the pit window to open up. Right now, we get this nail-biting, toe-to-toe action just every single lap and every single corner you look. And you're looking on board with Reese Carril as Ross McFarlane tries to take the high side away from Blasco's XP Emerald Racing Lamborghini. McFarlane not about to be denied a 6th place.
He is trying to fight here, but Carls will try to get that 5th, or that inside the top 6, as Ross McFarlane is right there with him as they go side by side for the position through the Andretti hairpin. Right there, pinching them each other off as they go through the second apex of the Andretti hairpin. But McFarlane wants to move up another spot to break into that top 7. As he works his way through, he will try to find that opening, completes the pass.
Completes the pass, and now he will continue to rocket away. Right behind him, Reese Carril looking to capitalize as well, and he will once again tick Alberto Garcia Blasco off of their target list as Pure Sims puts himself once again up to now run 6th and 7th on the boards. I love this, right? How you'll get McFarlane, who really kind of paves the way almost for Carril to fight back and just following right through.
It's a great thing when you have a teammate like that who is able to set the opening up and you can just follow right through. That's one of the great things when you have in GT competition a teammate like that. One who is going to be that rapid, the one who goes out there and starts to just open the doors and just set the pace. And then you have that teammate car, that sister car, to try and keep pace and keep the door open in order to try to get through and gain those extra positions. And the two Pure Swim drivers have been doing that perfectly since starting back in 20th and 19th.
Pit window opened as of a minute and a half ago. XPD Emerald Racing, the 101. The points leaders are all in the pit road. So is 5-star, Project Dynamic, Valorous, the Pro-Am Maniti driver, the 273, as well as Project Dynamic and World of Sim Racing are all in pit road at the moment for their scheduled pit stops on the day, along with mandatory driver changes where applicable. So it'll be a bit of an interesting run here through the pit stops, and once again, we'll see how that shakes up the running order as drivers start to change up their driving styles with the seats in the car.
Going to be interesting to see here as we see Sean Campbell in the RSR butt kicker with the sister car in front of him of Stefan Heijelvik as they approach towards the entrance of pit road. They're going to stay out another lap, so the two RSR by butt kicker teams, as they work their way through, they're going to try and see if they can hunt down that T3 Lamborghini. Rudy Kopnell, who is still pulling out by about 2.7 seconds over the field.
I think that is a pretty big thing to know. The lap times around Laguna Seca are so short that when you come down to the pit road, you're almost guaranteed to go down a lap, which is really huge if you have to fight your way past lead lap traffic just to get yourself on the lead lap. That could really, really slow you down just enough for you to still be gapped on the pit stops by somebody that might be pitted a little bit later, right? And that is one thing that I think a lot of drivers have to be very, very mindful for. For example, the 101, 19th place, is only about 10 seconds ahead of the race leader at the moment. It was that close for him to be lapped as well. 22nd place on back has been lapped. 21st is about to be lapped as well. You have to always keep one eye open for those little gaps, because our Series Hydra and TR powered by Geeks Energy, IVRA, both in the pit road this time by.
Yeah, a couple more cars are also considering coming down pit road here. We'll find out who else joins them as they approach up to turns number 10. Will they come down this time? The answer is going to be one of the two butt kicker RSR teams are going to be coming down. That's going to be Stefan, who will choose to come down pit road this time. Sean Campbell's going to stay out another lap at the very least. That will move him up into that second place to try to see if he can catch up to Rudy Cocknell.
So Sean Campbell is going to be, as I mentioned, staying out that one extra. Aaron Ackles going to be making that decision to stay out as well, whereas Ingros Orandinosis comes into pit lane. So Jorge Correa has had his fill of racing. He is going to be done for the night as he pulls into pit road and goes for a potential driver swap for himself. So you get now kind of the waiting game, right? This is where a lot of the battles are completely split apart. Nobody's really close to each other anymore, but that is only because a lot of the drivers in those battles have taken the pit road while their opponents have stayed out to attempt for an overcut. So we'll be seeing how this could play out. You've got a lot of different factors you have to worry about. Lap traffic, you've got to worry about exit conditions. It's a whole host of messy factors. As there's actually been a crash between one of the Pfizer machines, and Adam Isaacson has had a big moment up at turn number 6 as a moment ago. They've actually collided with Emma Wimbo for Valor Motorsports Apollo. So the points runner-ups at the moment not having a good day. Their bad day will continue, as now they're going to be dropping down, I'd imagine, out of the top 20 because of that.
Tough break indeed here as we take a look at the replay regarding that situation. And as they see, this is coming up to the Ray Hall Straight. This is turn 6. And, yep, just goes a little wide, hits the curb, hits the grass, and around they go. Nearly collected one of the Mercedes, who's able to rejoin the track, but as we see this incident here, our top two just came down pit road. So 2 new drivers will get behind the wheel of those 2 cars.
That's a tough break. I mean, nothing that 5-Star Motorsports did wrong there. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time for that. You saw how fast that happened for Wimbo. There was nothing Isaacson could do to avoid that.
No, there was absolutely nothing Isaacson can do to avoid that incident. He was right in front of me, could not check up quick enough in order to get by, but a tough break indeed. As some of the drivers who just came down pit road are now back out on the track. Sean Campbell still behind the wheel of that RSR Mercedes, while is Jacek Mayer in the T3 Motorsports GT2 machine.
So the Pearsons McLaren Lamborghini duo are now once again running 1-2 on the racetrack, but they both have yet to stop. And I expect to see those drivers in within the next lap or 2 here, as there is less than 4 minutes before the pit window does close. And once it closes, you're not going to be able to have another go at it. In fact, they're both going to come in at the exact same time. Unsurprising, they'd be on the same strategy, seeing as they are sister cars. So Carolyn right behind Ross McFarlane. And I can tell you right now, Eric Grove is going to be hopping right back into the seat of the McLaren to get set for the final run in tonight's race.
Certainly is the case here as we see I believe this is Sean Campbell here on screen. Nope, it's actually Stephen Heifeken, who is in behind the wheel of that 167. The RSR machine trying to track down see if he can get a couple extra spots while the rest of the field works their way through.
The hazards of having almost identical cars, save for the numbers, that sometimes you can get a couple of those drivers confused. I've already made my fair share of mistakes on that.
Same here. It's kind of chaotic sometimes when you have those 2 identical paint schemes.
And they're not the only team as well, right? Vector RSR is in a similar situation. You've got the Maniti drivers that have not only 3 cars with identical paint schemes, but in different classes as well, just for a little bit of extra confusion there.
Meanwhile, the Pure Sim boys give us something amazing. Same paint schemes, but 2 different cars.
You wouldn't think it'd be possible, but there it is. And believe it or not, I have still found ways to confuse the two. You wouldn't think it'd be possible, but when it's at a distance, okay, if they do kind of, okay, they look nothing, so I have no good excuse, but they did at one point kind of look together. It didn't help that it was at that point about 5 in the morning over with me, and I had just woken up about half an hour prior.
You better watch out to see what the chat might say about you confusing a McLaren to a Lamborghini now, Nolan.
Oh, I've already made that mistake earlier when I called a Porsche an Italian car just earlier in the week, so I learned my lesson for that one mighty quickly about confusing car manufacturers like that. Battles on for the 4th position. G3 Motorsports by Muniti and Joshua Meyer having to defend against Sean Campbell. This is the run up towards turn 11, and Campbell takes the inside line away through turn 11. But look at this, Meyer fighting back outside line with momentum around the outside of the hairpin. Who do you think is going to win out of this one to the Andretti hairpin?
We're going to find out as they drag race down to the Andretti hairpin. There you see that butt kicker machine going up against the Lamborghini. And as they enter out of the Andretti hairpin, it's going to be that butt kicker machine who will pull out ahead. That is currently Sean Campbell holding strong. There we go. Now we got it right. As host Josiah Mayer in that T3 Meaty machine is now dropped back to 4th position.
And as well as that, you've also got 11th and 12th place looking tight as well. These battles all starting to really pick up. And excuse me, I mean the 11th and 12th. Oh, and it's actually going to be a bumper there as Michael Teichmann just got given a bumper by Francisco Barrionuevo. And all the while, right when Seppola comes out of pit road, right behind them for the Rusty Specialist Porsche.
That Porsche has had its ups and downs here today. The Rusty Specialist trying to see if he can keep up pace and get a good finish here to round out today's action at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Currently sitting in 13th position, and I believe 2nd in the Pro-Am category, looking at the numbers and the timing and scoring. So a little bit of so far of a good run for him in that Pro-Am category.
Vector by RSR's in pit road, and none too soon. Pit window is now closed. And you're lugging them now to Carrillo as well as Eric Grove. And it looks like they're ready to make the swap. The 116 is faster than the McLaren, and they are going to make that switch on the front straightaway. That is exactly what you like to see, right? They are playing the strategy game. They're making sure they let the faster of the two in front. McFarland did a phenomenal job of making sure that Carrillo could be up where he was, and now they realized it was time to make that switch, and Eric Grove going to be having to be the one now to provide that rear gunner support if they come under fire once again.
Eric Grove going to do a great job here as the 117 will try to keep up with pace with his sister car as they continue on. Meanwhile, you're on board with Stefan Halikovic in that RSR butt kicker Mercedes working through lap traffic. That's one of the Porsches up in front of him. He's trying to see if he can pace his way through, be patient in order to try not to have any incidents and just bring home a strong finish at Kyle Dormack in the Jason Tails Racing Porsche in front of him.
What a turnaround for the RSR guys. They were looking to have not the best of runs, but now they're running 1-2. Of course, the leading car, the 167, started back in 7th place. The more impressive one, though, I'd say, is Sean Campbell. How about started 18th and now finds himself up in the 2nd position. That is, of course, courtesy of the reverse grid. It was, he did finish 3rd already in the opening race of the night, but when you get a track like this where it is super difficult to overtake, 2nd place to 18th to 2nd place, that is not at all a result to be ashamed of, especially considering, you know, he finished even one further back on just a normal qualifying order lineup.
Certainly is the case here indeed as we watch these drivers continue to press on here. Just about 23 minutes left to go on the clock. Sean Campbell trying to keep pace with his teammate of Stefan in the 167 just up the road for him. Looking at timing and scoring last time by Sean Campbell, fastest car on the track with a 1:20.295.
Not a whole lot of battles left on the racetrack, is there, at the moment? There you see Campbell just getting around lap traffic. That is the Jason Tails Porsche, with Jason Tails making their first ever HyperX GT Sprint Series start in either fall or winter series seasons. And I tell you what, they're not having the worst of runs. They finished, they started 22nd. They did finish 24th in race 1. And, well, unfortunately, they've fallen back another 2 spots to be 26 at the moment in race number 2. So could be better, but at least they're still out on the racetrack. I think that's always a good goal for your opening race, right? Just make sure you can actually be there to finish the race and take the checkered flag at the end, and then you've won.
That's always a good sign when you can be able to just be there at the finish and be able to take home a strong finish as well for your debut race. Keeping an eye on that. And then down the road, once you get things going, usually it's that first win that's always the hardest. Once you get that first win, then they start racking up, and we will see that happen here when he gets his first win.
On board with Neil Siesters, trying to close up on Francisco Barrio Nuevo for the Ingersoll Randonausis Pro 2 135. Looking like he might go for the move here into turn 1. Oh, it's a really late defensive block there, though, from Barrio Nuevo. And Tiesas might not be a very happy camper about that one. He's flashing his headlights, wanting to get that Audi out of the way, but being on the lead lap, it looks like Barrio Nuevo will be looking to fight this one out all the way through to the bitter end. And just ahead of them, we've also got Tristan Iglesias, who is in the 101, just trying to muscle together an 11th place finish, trying to catch up to Tuomo Seppola in the Rusty Spatula's Porsche up just up the road from them.
Yeah, you're on board with Tristan right now as he's trying to catch up to Tuomo Seppola as they work their way through up the Ray Hall straight. That 213 Porsche is trying to hold on strong to that 11th position, but here comes Tristan Iglesias right on the back bumper through the corkscrew. Gets a good run off corner exit. Tries to look to the inside as they come into the rainy curve. Will stick his nose there, but not close enough to make the pass work.
Not close enough. We could potentially have a solid run here. There's a dive bomb. Iglesias deep into turn 11, and Seppola gives him more than enough space to make that work. Rusty Spatulas were content with letting that one go. And understandably so, they're still holding on to a solid second place at the moment in the Pro-Am standings. No reason to sacrifice that battle with a car not in your class. Behind them, it's a battle for pro drivers, though, and Tiesas gets past Barrio Nuevo up into the Andretti hairpin.
He certainly does, as he now tries to pull away in a little bit through turns 2, and now to make the short run over to turn 3. Barrio Nuevo trying to make the run in his Audi, but can't get close enough. Not a good exit out of turn 3 as they make the short shoot over to turn 4 and 5.
And as we continue to cycle our way through, on board with Sean Campbell at the moment, half a second behind your current race leader, his RSR teammate. How much are these two drivers going to be willing to battle it out with one another? That is going to be a really big question, I think, at the moment. These two drivers don't have to find themselves in this situation, being in the 1-2 finish in the first place. Oh, big tank slapper there. Campbell took a bit too much of the sausage curves. That's what we haven't really talked about a whole lot too much today. Those sausage curves can really bite these GT3 cars, especially in turn 6.
They certainly do, and it's got to be so careful of where you set these cars over those curving. You can do it and make some ground a little bit, but if you go too much and are a little too aggressive on the curves, well, it's safe to say not going to be a good day for you indeed. Same thing if you flip the driver. Let's say go past one car who's off track. Didn't catch who that one was quickly because these Mercedes are moving quickly through the field and trying to get this gap growing a little bit more. Currently a 7-second advantage over the Lamborghini of Josek Mayer.
Into the braking zone, it will be Nuno Costa who breaks past Dawson Hess. That was, of course, lap traffic getting around lead lap cars, and all the while Eric Grove is a bit further behind as well. Take a look at the race spot replay, and this is the moment of turn 6. This is with Dawson Hess. Whoa, looping it around, just clipped the gravel on the exit for the Project Dynamic Audi. Good save, though, kept it out of the barriers, and that, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, just keeping it clean and out of the wall, and that's good enough at a track like this.
Certainly is, because this track can absolutely bite you very quickly if you're not careful. So a good job by Dawson Hess to be able to continue on racing. He's currently 2 laps down overall, sitting in 26th position and looking to see if he can get a little bit of better run in the Pro-Am category.
Top 2 still hovering just about 0.6 of a second apart. I think that's starting to kind of expand a little bit more. The Kazar Sim Racing duo just swapped hands, coming down into the Andretti hairpin. Unsurprising move there. trying to kind of find a bit of a battle, and I think I found one. 14th place in the racetrack. Adam Isaacson going up against the 273 Teeth Motorsports by Maniti machine into the Andretti hairpin, and that gap has started to expand outwards a little bit more, as I'm feeling Isaacson just actually, and in fact he did, he just got past Hans Schell into turn 11 that last time by.
Certainly did a great drive right there for him, and as he moves his way up through the field, has to keep an eye, see if he can gain a few more spots after some interesting scenarios that happened to him earlier on during the start of today's race. As we're back on board with your race leader, Stefan, as he continues to hold the lead here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Once again, at the point of this race, but the battles have kind of split apart. You've got 3 total fights at the moment. You got obviously this battle for the top 2, about a quarter of a second there. You've got a 2-car fight between TR powered by Geeks Energy and Teeth Motorsports by Medici. That is the battle for 10th, but that's expanded apart. And another one between yet another one of the Medici drivers. 15th place between the 273 and the World of Sim Racing 351 BMW. So you got these various little fights that are starting to develop, but they're kind of ebbing and flowing, right? And none of them really within half a second of each other. It's more just kind of follow the leader and try to bide your time and hope that they can maybe make a mistake to make it easy on you.
That's always the case when it comes to any form of motor racing, is buying time as, hello, there goes the leader's by. I believe that's one of the Team Oblivion kart racing Lamborghinis of Casper, who is currently sitting 24th. Tough break for him. But you have to be patient and try to force your competitors into another mistake. And sometimes it's vice versa. That competitor may make a mistake where you don't have to even do anything to try and force them into making that mistake. So you have to be so careful and making sure your head's up in order to avoid any incidents, in order to gain those precious positions.
This gap's down about 0.4 of a second now. It's as close as it's ever been. So it looks like Campbell is looking to close in. Now, if it becomes evident that Campbell is the fastest of these 2 drivers, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to make just an orderly swap, or do you think they're going to actually fight with each other? I would personally love to see a fight between 2 teammates. There's nothing like a good team battle to just kind of really shake things up, because more often than not, they are going to be on relatively even cars, being from the same outfit.
They certainly are. These 2 Mercedes are definitely going to be one to watch, and very interesting how they're going to go about things. But I think it's going to be a matter of who has set the faster pace. Currently, Sean Campbell has been that faster driver here out of these 2 competitors, but so far, they're just holding position, trying to make sure they pull away, which they have. They picked up another 2 seconds over 3rd and 4th place right now, so definitely doing what they need to do in order to maintain the top 2.
Still looking to maintain the top 2, and you can see Campbell still having to really work on closing up to Heilvik. The 167 has been doing a good job to keep that car up in the lead where I think it certainly belongs. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen an RSR 1-2. And it is very, very good to see these guys finally having something to go their way in the series. They're usually able to pick off these one-off wins here or there, but they're not, more often than not, they have to settle for second or less. But now, to get a Team 1-2, I think that's the first time we've actually seen this happen so far for the RSR crew, and that would just be a dream way to end this day off for them. But it looks like Campbell's going to look to battle this one out.
Campbell's going to take a peek to the inside as they approach up through here, and a great drive, but going to think better of it. Backs off just a tick in order to just stay in that slipstream as they work their way up to the top of turn number 6 and down the Rahal straight. They'll go to the top of the hill of the corkscrew, and as they approach the braking zone of the corkscrew, they're going to be a little bit separation between them, about 2 to 3 car lengths. But Campbell trying to see if he can put the pressure on him in order to maybe see if he can come out on top with the victory here today.
Through turn 10 and setting up for 11. Back down to about 0.3 of a second. That extends a bit. Oh, hello, look at that. Heilvik running a bit wide through the final corner. And now that'll open the door for Sean Campbell. Looks to the inside of the 167. Not backing down. Now he decides to yield, and Sean Campbell going to go through into the race lead. And could Sean Campbell bring that car home and take a race win at Laguna Seca here tonight? That would be fantastic to see. You've also got battle starting to pick up outside of the top 10. I'm looking more towards battle for 12th place at the moment. You can also see this one here for 9th was actually hanging on. Tristan Garcia has taken the inside line away from Kazar Sim Racing. That was the fight for 8th place. I think Garcia has just made up another spot into the top 10.
Yeah, Tristan Iglesias having this great run right now inside that 8th position now as he tries to set his sight on the vector by RSR of Luke Rutenshaw, who's another 6 seconds up the road. So he's got not a lot of time to do it, but he's going to try to see what he can do here as you ride on board with him, working across the start-finish line. Man on a mission indeed here as we watch here this battle. I believe that's the 279 machine right there in the mix.
And looking for the inside into turn number 3, you saw Emma Wimbo think about it, but just wasn't close enough to make a move. A whole bunch of gravel being kicked up as drivers just following each other off on these little errors that they make. Matt Loveridge for Olympus Esports slowing down to let all the lead lap traffic through, wants no part in all the firm battling taking place. Wimbo closing up on the Team for Motorsports by Medici 273, and that would be a battle for Pro-Am positioning. So this is big at the moment as Wimbo looks for the inside into the corkscrew, but he gets covered off by the 273, who just pulls ahead once again for the time being.
Yes, Jonas Hanschel in that T3 machine, or that 273 machine, having a really good job of trying to maintain inside that Pro-Am category. Currently, I believe, sitting in that 3rd position, the final step of the podium. He is definitely wanting to hold on in order to hold that 3rd spot.
Struggling to hang on, and continue to see these battles dice their way out all the way down towards the checkered flag in this race. TR powered by Geeks Energy took a brief, almost thought they were going to go into pit road, but they managed to cut their way back out just in time. And now look at T3 by Medici trying once again just to keep Emma Wimbo from Valorous Motorsports Apollo at bay. And just in front of them, V-Racers trying to make a run on the Rusty Spatulas machine of Tuomo Seppola as well in the battle for 13th place. This is starting to become quite the fierce fight that these drivers are having to navigate in what's going to be the last 10 minutes here.
It certainly is going to be an absolute fight to the finish here as you see the Rusty Spatulas of Seppola holding strong in that 13th position, but the 273 of Hanschel as well as Neil Chester are definitely putting the pressure on him, throwing in Neil Wimbo in that Valaris Motorsports Apollo team. Lamborghini really putting the pressure on, and then you got Ruben Ralu right there as well in the BMW.
Through turn 10 and back for 11. Is their move made up into 11? Wimbo's going to think about it. He's going to commit to it. To the inside. Medici trying to cover him off in this contact as Valorous pushes to the outside curve. And that 273 is fuming at the moment, flashing the headlights furiously down the front straightaway. Immediately looks to battle back. Dive bombs to the inside line. But Wimbo might be able to hold him off. He just carrying the momentum outside line, gets into the gravel, but Wimbo still hangs on to 15th overall.
Wimbo did a great job of defensive driving and heads-up driving in order to hold on to that position as they come through turns number 3. Great short shoot down over to turn 4 and 5. He goes way wide, hits the gravel, but gathers it back up and moves on.
And now Tiesters looks for the inside line. Rusty Spatulas into the kink. That's risky, but Tiesters makes it stick. Oh, and now Wimbo gets run over. Wimbo runs over the Rusty Spatulas Porsche, and that's going to allow Medici right back through. World of Sim Racing thought about making a run at it as well, but the 351 wasn't close enough. But that was a classic case of Rusty Spatulas just getting all sorts of off speed because of that, and made a very late juke back to the right. I think he was going to try to let Wimbo through, and then he realized that Valor's had committed to going around the right side already.
He certainly did, and now as he looks to the inside once again of the Rusty Spatula, how about going 2 wide, maybe 3 wide out of turn 11? Thinks better of it, now single file, but here comes Wimbo with a big head of steam down the front straightaway.
Oh, this is going to get tight. Wimbo looks over to the right. Medici already covering him off, almost leaving him no room to work with. But Wimbo still holding strong. And he is going to clip the gravel, but he's going to lose out in the battle for 14th place now. And it looks like Jonas Hanschel is going to hang on for the time being, but Wimbo not done fighting this one out yet. Still 7.5 minutes left to go in this race.
7.5 minutes to go, and it's just getting even more exciting here in these closing stages. Wimbo, will he have a chance to get around that T3 Motorsports machine, or will he not be able to have enough time? He's going to put the pressure on him and try to continue to put the race here in the closing stages.
Looking to apply some very, very serious pressure here. You can see a whole host of drivers trying to make whatever kind of moves they can. And Elmo Wimbo, I think, is going to be one of the more aggressive of those guys, looking to just regain lost time, trying to keep close with the likes of Hanschel just in front of him, trying to see if he can maybe attack just one more time as we continue to get set to enter the final few laps of this race. Of course, when you look at how the whole session panned out in race number 1, where you had about or just over 40 laps, it could be entering its closing stages here, but is he close enough to go back at him? I think he is. Look at how much he's applying the pressure. Oh, but he's in the gravel. This could be bad, and luckily they just bring it back on. It doesn't lose all that much time either.
No, he certainly doesn't, and gathered a lot of space there, and he's able to try to see if he can gain that time back up just a little bit. They almost were about a 0.2 difference last time by, with, of course, Hottenshell with the faster lap last time around. But here he comes, Emil Wimbo, trying to see if he can try and close the gap up the Ray Hall straight before they get to the corkscrew.
Closes in the gap, but not enough to go for an overtake. But as they close in on V Racers, this could back up Maniti right into the clutches of Valorous Motorsports. Now, this is actually something I didn't even consider. Niels Tiester's still, of course, off pace slightly, and now going to be under fire from Hanschel as well, with 5 minutes left to go. No doubt this is going to be an overtake or a battle here, as they're going to try to get around pro traffic. Wild battle amongst each other. And already Hanschel wanted to get V Racers out of the way. He knows they're both fast, but he knows he's only given an opportunity to Wimbo to try to attack him, the more he's sticking it behind the Mercedes.
He is definitely going to try to put the pressure on here on the back of that Mercedes with it 5 minutes to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We watch the battle here as they come out, the Vectors versus the Vector Mercedes versus the 2 Lamborghinis here for the few minutes, and he is definitely trying to hold off here as they come up through turns 4 and 5. And as they approach up to turn number 6, it's going to get even more intense.
The thing is, though, of course, Hanschel can flash the headlights all he wants, but V Racers is on their lap and has more than every right to battle with them for overall track position. No rules saying that he can't. And I imagine the V Racers might be willing to do just that. And Hanschel not content with that at all. He realizes what is potentially at stake here. This is, remember, the battle for second place in the Pro-Am standings at the moment on the race. And that is, of course, huge points that are up for grabs here if he can take that second place. Oh, look out! Prototype goes around! Big contact! Maniti's off! And it looks like Valor's got into it as well, but Valor's going to overtake Maniti anyway, but with major damage on the front end.
A little bit of damage right there to the nose of that Apollo Lamborghini, as we see Dawson Hess struggling here again in that Audi. So we take a look at the replay. Let's see what happened to Dawson. I think he had a little bit too much power going into out of turn 11, but let's see here. Hits the braking point and goes, yep, loops it around. How about the heads-up driving right there by Niels Tiester to avoid that incident?
That could have been so bad for the Mercedes. He did a phenomenal job to get around that. Just kept that wheel jerked hard to the left. And obviously, both battle Lamborghinis were just completely unsighted because of that. And now, is it just me, or has Emil Wimbo disappeared? No, he is not. We're just taking a look at a couple of other drivers that just happen to also be V Racers and Maniti. Once again, you talk about the confusion that can reign in sometimes. Well, that's a key example of it right there, as I believe this is looking up a little bit further to the battle for 7th place on the racetrack between Luke Burtonshaw and Tristan Iglesias.
Yeah, we're riding on board with Tristan Iglesias in that 8th position, trying to see if he can find that opening he needs to get around Luke Burtonshaw in the Vector RSR, the sister car of Niels, who's back in 13th, as the two start to do battle here. Lamborghini versus Mercedes as they work their way out of turn number 4, heading over to turn 5. And Iglesias is definitely trying to put the pressure, but not close enough to send it in to make a pass yet on Burtonshaw.
It'll be 2 laps to go when they come around this time by towards start finish. This race entering its final segments. Iglesias closing. Is it enough to attack the V-Racers machine of Luke Burtonshaw for a potential 7th place? Iglesias needs a good points day, of course. He already finished 4th place. The last thing he would want to do is finish even further down the order. You've also still got your battle for the top 2. That is yet to be sorted in the overall fight for the race win, but that gap still over a second. And you saw Maniti trying to make the pass now. That was up into turn 11, I believe, on Burtonshaw for 7th place. So you've got these various battles also looking to develop. And here's one for you now. Drag race down for the Andretti hairpin.
He is definitely going to try to put it here. Drag race here as they look to the inside, and Burtonshaw can't quite make it work. He will lose that spot to 7th place over Iglesias.
And almost with contact as well. And I think that is what convinced Burtonshaw to swing it out wide. He realized just how close Maniti was willing to get and decided this is not worth it. He opted to back out and try again another time. Maybe he can fight back, but he only has one more lap to do so when he gets around to the start finish this time by. And your race leaders are now going to be starting the final lap here from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. What a race it has been, as the white flag now waves over the field from WeatherTech.
One more time around for Sean Campbell and their sister teammate of Stefan Heiklevic, as the 2 RSR machines have been absolutely dominating. But how about Reese Carls? He has made a ton of time up on the 2 RSR machines. He won't be able to probably get the race lead away from those 2 Mercedes, but give a round of applause for him for a podium finish here after winning in race number 1. He's about 4 seconds back and starting to close a little bit, but it might be too little too late. And as we watch our top 2 coming through the final corner for the final time, it is going to be the RSR by butt kickers going 1 and 2 here. Sean Campbell and Stefan Heidlevick will take home the checkered flag here in race number 2.
And with that, Sean Campbell takes a solid race victory. You wouldn't think that it would be an RSR 1-2 after all the mayhem that we saw there today, but they come home, they get it done. And what an excellent race that was. Just have to wait now for the rest of the drivers to tick their way across the line. One of the last battles on course is for 16th place, and that is still just coming on up through turn 6 now. Rusty Spatcher's trying to fend off Ruben Escriba-Ralloy for the World of Sim Racing BMW.
It's going to be a tight battle here as they come up to the top of the hill, down towards the corkscrew, and Sapella will try to work his way through, holds off Ruben Escarba as they work their way through. Here they come out of the final set of corners, and it's going to be Porsche versus BMW. Throw in the Lamborghini of the Westwood Racing Esports team as well. To the inside, he'll take a look, and now here comes the big send by the Lamborghini. Big send hard into the tire barriers. The Audi and the Lamborghini. I talk about hashtag send it, but that was an overstatement of a hashtag send it for the Lamborghini and the Audi. And the Rusty Spatulas will come out on top over that, and I think some people are not going to be happy after that situation there.
I want to point out those were two different classes. The battle for 16th was for Pro-Am. The two cars that collided, that was a Pro battle in 21st place. It was a very late dive by Rodriguez that I honestly don't think was on. I don't believe he was going to be able to make that corner successfully anyway with how hard he slammed into the tire barriers in pit road. But Matt Loveridge didn't do himself any favors by sending himself crashing into the tire wall himself.
Not a very smart or not a smart decision on their part, especially for something such as inside 21st position. And unfortunately, that team will come home probably 22nd or worse, or even worse, depending on if there's any penalties going to be given out after that. But how about the RSR put kicker Mercedes going 1-2 here today?
Sean Campbell takes a race win over Stefan Heilvik, and that will put Reese Carroll now in third place. Derek Grove in fourth. So you got to look at that. RSR 1-2, Pure Sims 3 and 4. Meyer's going to be in fifth place for the 173. Hugo Gonzalez Aranda in sixth place. Tristan Iglesias is in seventh, with Luke Burtonshaw in eighth. Adam Isaacson is ninth. And how about Aaron Ackles, one of the amateur cars for Kazar Sim Racing, finishing inside the top 10.
Then we have our first Pro-Am competitor of Garrett Thompson with the Quasar team. So a good drive for the Quasar Sim Racing team. They'll come home in 11th, followed by Michael Teckerman in the TR powered by Geeks Energy Machine in 11th or 12th. And then it's going to be Emil Winbo in 13th, followed by Johannes Huntschell in 14th. Niels Tieturis will come home in 14th with Tumo Sapala in 16th in the Rusty Spatula Sports Truck. In 17th will be Ruben Raul from the World of Sim Racing BMW, then Francisco Barrenuevo in 18th. Tim Spessler will come home in 19th, and rounding out your top 20 is Max Palme.
And that'll leave the likes of Olympus Esports and Matt Loveridge in 21st place, along with Javier Garcia Rodriguez in 22nd. Two down is Sam Mee with Kyle Domark in 24th. Casper Ahmad is 25th. From there you got Dawson Hess, Seduto Costa, Standa Sefnal, Rune Janssens, and Michael Sola to round out the 30-car grid. Once again, Cube Racing not escaping the first lap. What an exciting race then for us here tonight. Just absolute insanity from start to finish. And well, with that, it's time to give a talk to some of the drivers who were there for it all. We are going to kick things off with Aaron Ackles, the driver that took home the AM class win here over in race number 2. And I have to say, Aaron, it was a wild race for you guys out there today. Why don't you walk us through it?
It was something. Race 1, bit of a minefield you had to dodge, but it was just keeping the car clean all race and keeping the tires underneath of it. It got hot and tires were going off really, really quick.
So obviously you were kind of not having to worry about so much about AM class traffic as much as you were all of the other classes around you. What kind of goes through your mind when you have to worry about these Pro-Am and Pro cars all trying to battle right around positions where you're just trying to mind your own business?
Well, really trying not to affect their championship, so I'm just trying to stick with them a little bit. It feels good to be able to keep up with them and just stay out of their way and let them keep their race going and just mind my gap that I had in AM.
So with this solid run for you, obviously I think it's safe to say you're looking to improve on your 5th place standing currently in the points section today. Do you think you'll be able to carry that momentum over into Long Beach?
God, I hope so. I love Long Beach, and we lost a little bit of ground last race with a DSQ, but hopefully we can carry on and lower that gap a little bit as best we can.
Fingers crossed, you're still within 100 points of the race leaders. Definitely still within a chance on being able to go for the title. Well, thank you for joining us then here tonight, Aaron. Wishing you the best of luck over in the other side of California in just a couple of weeks' time.
Heck yeah, guys. Thank you very much.
That was Aaron Ackles bringing it home for the Kazar Sim Racing Machine. And I have to say, Taylor, it was an excellent race for them. I mean, for the most part, really, all he had to do was just mind his own business. His next closest competition was 3 seconds back with Pro-Am traffic in between the two of them. It's not often you get to just kind of just take your time and take it easy, especially in the AM class like that.
No, certainly. You have to just take it back. And Aaron absolutely did an incredible job of just taking care of his equipment and just surviving. And then, of course, he comes out with the amateur win, which is phenomenal. Great points night for him. And he's probably going to be looking forward to heading over to none other than Long Beach in a couple weeks' time.
And unfortunately, I will not be able to be present for Long Beach or for, in fact, the rest of the season. But I have to say, I'm looking forward to watching about how Long Beach is going to go out. Because obviously, it's a tight street circuit. It's one of the few full street circuits that you really got on the iRacing servers. Obviously, you got Detroit Belle Isle, right? But it's a bit of an interesting race, that one. So we'll have to see how this could potentially play on out for them at Long Beach. And you got the Fountain Curve, obviously very, very famous, but it is the tightest circuit, I would say second only to Mount Panorama in their downhill section. It's going to be a calamity-filled race, and I think that's going to be more of a race of attrition than normal.
I have to certainly agree with you on that one, Nolan, and we'll have to see how that will come out next week. Unfortunately, like you, I won't be able to be there as well. I'll be heading out to Austin, Texas next week, so unfortunately for that, but it's still going to be great and excited to watch the action there at Long Beach.
Sure, we'll be able to get Ewan O'Leary in the mix of things over for us once again over there. And now we got a secondary driver we can take a talk to tonight. Let's see if we can't potentially well, as it turns out, not going to be able to unfortunately get a talk. I was hoping we could get a talk with second place in the RSR by Butt Kicker Machine, the 167. He was here for a split second and then unfortunately departed, so seems like he had to go somewhere, but I wouldn't be surprised, right? RSR 1-2, great result for them. So I think for us then here from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca, we are just about all the time we have left for one night, and so it is time for us to say farewell from the WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca. I'm Nolan Rambo with Taylor Burris beside me in the broadcast booth. Ryan Bowers been doing a phenomenal job behind the cameras as always for tonight's race. Thank you for joining us for more racing action for the IVRA HyperX GT Sprint Series. We'll see you all in a couple of weeks over in Long Beach.